going to be doing one of the interviews that I consider most exciting and very important. We're going to be talking with an extraordinary gentleman, and we're going to be talking about the joys, the pain, the dangers of public service. Welcome to Talk Time. So I'm talking about Mr. Daniel Domelevo, who used to be Auditor General. And you know the story and everything that happened and so on. Now we like to pick it from the horse's own mouth. So you're welcome to our studios.
Thank you very much. I am grateful for the opportunity.
To start with, what are you doing now?
That's very interesting. I'm on retirement, but then not tired. Some people tease me that I've retired into active service because I've been providing consultancy across the globe for some of the international financial institutions, which has sent me to several countries in Africa and Asia. And so that's what I've been doing since I left office.
What are some of these financial organizations that you consult?
Well, I consult for World Bank as a short-term consultant. So that has sent me to Zimbabwe, South Sudan, Liberia, several African countries. And I'm also a member of the Audit and Finance Committee of the Global Funds. Global Fund was established for the eradication of HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria. And so I'm a member of the Audit and Finance Committee. The committee meets very often because it has a fully delegated authority over the finances and audit of the fund. So you don't send a request for approval for fund and etc. to the board. It comes or it stops at the committee level. So we meet very often for this purpose.
Are you still working on Ghana?
No, I don't do anything in Ghana. I only visit Ghana.
Is there a reason why you're not working on Ghana?
No, there has not been any request for my service in Ghana. I am more than happy to work for Ghana. And to be honest with you, there is nowhere better than home. And I tell people very often that if you are not interested in building your father's house or your mother's house, then there's something wrong with you. So you can't just be going around and ignore home. So anytime the need arises, I avail myself.
But the World Bank has a lot of interest in Ghana.
Yes.
Is the World Bank not deploying you to work in Ghana?
No. Interestingly, in the World Bank, when you are an international consultant, you don't work in your country.
Oh.
In fact, you cannot even be an international staff working in your country. We have the local staff, that is the local high, and the international high. If you are international high, you don't work in your country to avoid conflict of interest and be sure that you are above board or neutral in the decisions you take.
So it would appear then that those who got you out of the audit service have managed to secure their interest. They've managed to get what they wanted to get.
Exactly. They did, and they also succeeded in marketing me very well, for which I'm grateful to them for the marketing that they did pro bono. Mm-hmm. But then they secured their interest, interestingly, and people meet me and say that, oh, congratulations, the Supreme Court has ruled in your favor. And I said, they ruled in the president's favor, not in my favor. And if you want, I can explain that to you.
Please explain, please explain.
What I mean is that, first and foremost, I think I was inconveniencing the presidency or the government with the type of audit I was doing. So they needed me out, 2020 also being an election year. If my report came out by June 2020 before election, they didn't know what it was going to be. So they won by pushing me aside. That is fine. But you also recall that the president has appointed a lot of people occupying such positions, including the current Auditor General, electoral commissioner, etc. And the provisions in the Constitution which protect the Auditor General is the same which protect all of them, including the Chief Justice. So if the judgment had gone against me, they will have all be candidates in line for firing. anytime.
Well, depending on the work they do, whether or not the presidency is satisfied with their work.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
They're assuming a new president comes, and the Supreme Court says that, okay, independent constitutional body, once appointed by the president, can be kicked out. Then the Chief Justice, in fact, in the ruling they themselves, they stated it. So I told people that the judges were protecting themselves than me. People think they were ruling in my favor. If you read the judgment, you will see they stated very clearly that the Chief Justice may be asked to proceed on leave in the course of a judgment, or just in the process or the course of election. The electoral commissioner may be asked to step aside and go on leave and appoint an acting one appointed. So I think the president won twice, so it's 2-1. He won twice and I won one.
But the point is that the Supreme Court decision,
yes,
didn't mean anything. It came after you could not be reinstated.
Yeah. Yes and no. In terms of addressing my right, yes, I agree with you that I thought that was a bit of justice delayed and hence justice denied. But it's better late than never. Now the decision or the interpretation has been done. And I think going forward, such a thing will not happen anymore. So that's where I see the positive end. That look, no president will come, or the current president will not be thinking of doing same to any other independently established office in the country anymore. So it is two sides. On my personal note, yes, I agree with you, but for the nation, it is still not too late. It is good because that office and independent constitutional bodies are going to be there for until Jesus comes.
Why do you think that the presidency or the current government was hell-bent on getting you out of office?
They are best placed to answer this question. But if I can guess, this is my conviction or my belief, and I stated that in my response to the president, that the type of audits or the assignments I was undertaking was creating inconvenience to the presidency. If you remember, that was the time when I had surcharged senior minister and we were in court. And they raised very interesting issues. One, they raised the issue that the evidence of work done was not made available to the auditors because it was of national interest or national security. That's why it was not given to them. Even though there were other issues like not following the procurement law and etc. But let's dwell on the substantive issue, the evidence of work done for which they didn't make it available to the auditors. And our argument before Justice Efia was that it was an afterthought. It was never a national security issue because in January 2018, the audit observation was issued by the team. Their response is there. It didn't mention anything about national security. In March 2018, the management letter or the draft audit report, if you want to call it, we call it management letter, was issued to the Ministry of Finance. The response which came had nothing to say about national interest or national security. In June, I issued the audit report to Parliament. In August, senior minister, the then senior minister, Osafo Mafu, wrote me explaining the circumstances under which the people were working, without the evidence. And he didn't mention anywhere in that letter any issue of national security. It is only when the surcharge came and they went to court before they say it was national security issue. So our argument was that it was not anything bordering on national security. But be it as it may, let's assume with that admitting that it bordered on national security. Our argument was, is national security exempted from audit? We wanted the law, which shows that national security should not be exempted from law, from audit, because even the National Security Office, the ministry, is audited. So what exempted national security, now not even a national security ministry, but something in the domain of senior minister, which according to his own document he has shared with Ministry of Finance, Bank of Ghana and Cocoa Board, could not be seen by the auditor who audit all of them together. So we were challenging and we wanted to argue that we don't think, even if it's a national security issue, it will have been exempted from the audit. So Justice Efia said, well, since it comes to national interest or national security, the institution which is clothed with the authority to interpret that is the Supreme Court. So she referred the case to the Supreme Court. We went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court asked the question, if they asked me to go back and look at the evidence, will I be okay with it? And I said through my lawyers, no, I will not be okay with it. And they said, why? I said, because the audit has ended. And according to Regulation 34 of the Audit Service Regulation, when an observation is raised on the field, you are supposed to respond on the field. But be it as it may, if you are not able to respond, Section 29 of the Audit Service Act provides that you have 30 days when you receive the management letter to respond. So there were 2 opportunities granted. And the audit is now completed. I've issued my report to Parliament. So if I go and have a look at it now, do I come back and issue a new audit report to say after the audit I've done another audit? So the audit is complete. That aside, we were setting a bad precedent. Bad precedence in the sense that when Honorable Kwesi Pratt is given 20 million to go and build a school, and we come and the school is not there, we can't find the school, we give you all the notices, you can't show us the school, we finish the audit and we surcharge you. Now a year or 2 later you say come and see the school is here, so remove your disallowance and surcharge. Thirdly, the Supreme Court was interfering in the audit process, because if you read Article 187 Clause 7A, it says the Auditor General in the performance of his functions under the Constitution and any other law is not under the direction and control of any other person or authority. So they are also included, so they are also interfering by virtue of their position. I don't think the Constitution made even room for them. Well, they can say what I did is wrong or right, but they shouldn't come and instruct the audit to continue, an audit which has completed. So they rose and said they were going back into the chamber, and they will be back. After some time, we were waiting. They came, and the presiding judge, Justice Doche, said in their own wisdom, they have decided to direct the senior minister to give the evidence to me as the Auditor General, and I've been given 10 days to come back to the Supreme Court to tell the Supreme Court whether I was satisfied with the evidence or not. And they didn't give me even the option of saying anything. My lawyer rose, they said she should sit down. So he sat down. You know how nice a justice system is.
Yeah.
So he sat down in the court rose. So I had 10 days to do that. On the 5th day, the president wrote me and said I should proceed on leave. So I'd consumed 5 of the 10 days. And I think this was the 30th of June or so, one of the days, I've forgotten which of the months. The following day, the acting Auditor General wrote to the court that he has gone to see the evidence. He had planned an audit, done everything, and he is satisfied. And so the Supreme Court now wrote back to the High Court and said, well, the Auditor General is now satisfied with the case. So the judge at the High Court, Justice Efia, now ignored all the other issues, because we claimed that the procurement process was bad, because the payment was done before the contract was signed, and the contract was signed before they went for approval. And the approval was not even given to Honorable Asafo. The approval was given to Kandapa, National Security Ministry. So a Greek cannot use education's approval to go and do procurement. It is not done. So we argue that everything was ill, but she ignored all of that and threw the disallowance and surcharge away. But let me quickly add one, that there was also another contentious issue. I had surcharged Zoom Lion 411 million at the time. and they had appeal at the High Court and lost. So they went to the Court of Appeal. And when they went to the Court of Appeal, it was the same time the case was referred to the Supreme Court because they challenged the original jurisdiction of the Auditor General, whether it affects the private sector, and for the Supreme Court to decide. And we were in the Supreme Court to say there's even no need for you to decide anymore, because you decided it in Occupy Ghana vs. Attorney General. In Occupy Ghana vs. Attorney General, when we were given the consequential orders after the decision that the Auditor General must disallow and surcharge, you said you should surcharge persons, and you put into bracket, be he or be him a public officer or not. So you have even defined what person was. So you don't need to redefine it. So it actually covers.
It was mute.
Yes. But then my exit was very good. It paved way for these decisions to be taken. I was not surprised. Zoom Lion was let off the hook. But then I don't feel bitter about it. I tell people when they are surprised. I say, because to the best of my knowledge, I was doing the work to the best of my knowledge and with good intent. I assume the same for them, that they were also doing their best for the country.
You're talking specifically about Crow and Associates.
Yes.
What was the nature of the agreement? I mean, what kind of agreement was it? What services were they supposed to provide? You know, why were you not satisfied with what had been done?
Well, the agreement was for them to identify some transactions and recover some monies which were allegedly wrongly appropriated during the SWA regime, which I'll tell you bluntly did not require that type of services. In fact, it's like what has just happened. They have a go engage KPMG. Some very pedestral transactions. Then they say they are going for an expert paying so much money. What is happening in the public service, which breaks my heart most, is that anytime we suffer losses, government wastes additional money as if adding insults to injury, as if the injury is not enough. We say that our money is lost. They say, oh, you say your money is lost? Then you go and look for a blind man and say, go and look for the money for us. Definitely we won't find the money. So that was the argument. The argument is that, okay, so they started doing this and the money has been paid. The auditors raised issue about where is the contract based upon which the money was paid. Later on they found the contract and they say, but this contract, first and foremost, the money was paid prior to the contract date. Because the release letters were there. You say, so is this the contract which brought about the payment? It should have been the other way around. You enter into agreement, do the work, and you are paid. But well, okay, no problem. The contract was a single source procurement, and the law requires that you should get approval from the Public Procurement Authority. So where is that approval? Later on, the approval came, and the approval is also dated after the contract. So reverse gear. Instead of driving forward, they were applying reverse gear. Then the auditors look at the approval, and they came and showed it to me. Actually, they actually came to me and showed me the copy of the approval. I looked at it and said, have you looked at the approval? It's very irregular. One, it is not to the senior minister's office. It is to national security. So that by itself is a problem. Two, the approval is being given by PPA. Did you hear what I said?
Yeah.
It is being given by PPA, not the board. It is only the board which has the mandate under the PPA Act. If you read section 40 and 41, it says approval of the PPA board, not PPA. But it was signed, given approval coming from PPA. So I said there's a lot of irregularities about this. So if you have studied PPA approvals, I think we are doing education, so let me do this education for Ghanaians to understand. I've seen several approvals, they have been branching on TV and newspapers, that this PPA approval, and I just laugh and say this is a fake approval. Many times you see PPA hereby approves or authorizes you. PPA doesn't have that mandate. The genuine approvals, you see they state that at the board's meeting on 25th of this date or that month, meeting number 10 or 15 or whatever, the board approved. So what the PPA executive does is to communicate the approval. So if you look at them, I can even share some of them. You see that there are ones which were communicating the approval of the board, and those that the PPA, whoever he is, or whichever entity it is giving itself the mandate to give the approval. So I looked at it and said, no, this approval by itself is fake. Go to PPA and demand the board minutes. The meeting which granted this, it never came, which convinced me beyond doubt that somebody just tried to cover up and give the approval. So there were a lot of issues that we were going to come out with, but well, it was shortened, and I can't fault anybody. Like I told you, I believe Justice Efia was doing the job to the best of her ability, just as I was also doing mine. So that's where it ended.
Well, viewers, we're going to go for a short break, and we are in conversation with Mr. Daniel Domelevo, former Auditor General, and we all know the circumstances under which he was ousted out of office. We are talking about his experiences, and we'll be talking also about his present and perhaps his future. After this short break, I'd like to know whether or not the evidence available to you suggested that Crowe and Associates did the job. And if they did the job, how much did we recover? And how much were they paid? Short break. Well, welcome back to Talk Time, and we are in this very exciting conversation with Mr. Daniel Domelevo, former Auditor General. Now, sir, did your work show that Crowe and Associates did the work for which they were contracted?
I would say no, from my point of view, because remember I told you that the Supreme Court directed that they should provide the evidence to my office. And the evidence never came till the president kicked me out. So maybe the day I left, they brought the evidence to the acting Auditor General, who the next day said, yes, you are satisfied. So the only person who can answer this question, unfortunately, is the current Auditor General, who then was the acting Auditor General.
Did they manage to retrieve the monies that, were supposed to have been
I have no idea. Remember I told you that the evidence
at
of
the time
done,
that you were in office,
yes,
did you find anything to suggest that Crowe and Associates had done work leading to the retrieval of monies lost?
I think that was exactly the question that the auditors were asking, that where is the evidence? And because that evidence was not shown to them, that's why they flagged it up. So that never came to my notice or attention, and maybe my the current Auditor General, he has that information, because Senior Minister never provided one item or rating or whatever to my office till I left office. And the next day I heard that, oh, the Auditor General has gone to see it and he is satisfied. I said, fine, this is good.
How much did we pay for this contract?
I don't remember the amount on the top of my head, but it's a little bit above 1 million. You will see that there was
$1 million.
$1 million, sorry, not cedis. It was quite, I didn't know we were going to go into this. I will have picked some information even from the net for you to see the rate. The rate was very generous. What some of them were earning a day, you won't get it in a month. In fact, not even a month, maybe 6 months, you may not get those huge sum. I don't want to quote the wrong figure, but it is available for Ghanaians to check. And you couldn't understand what role they were playing, but that is besides the question. If they were doing work which justifies that payment, we had no problem. So we were just looking for, or the auditors were just looking for evidence of the work you did for which these payments were being done.
Now, sir, one would have thought that auditing is a technical tax which uses imperial parameters in order to come to determinations.
Yes.
Your case suggests that the kind of audit you get depends on who does the audit. Is that true?
Yes and no. if done and done very well, it is very technical, analytical, and use parameters and evidence. So if I do the audit, my finding may be almost the same as yours. But remember, at times there can be differences. Differences may come as a result of the audit approach or the methodology and the sampling. Remember, we don't do a census, we sample. So for instance, if you say we are auditing Ministry of Finance, it doesn't mean we are going to look at each and every transaction, otherwise the audit will never finish. So we do what we call risk profiling. We look at what are the risky areas, where are the big monies being paid, and where are the weak controls, and say let's go and look at those areas and see how things are done. At times where the strong controls are, even that is where they have sneaked something through. So you may be looking this direction and the guy passes the other direction. So my findings may be different from the other findings. But given the same samples and the same audit methodology, the finding must be the same. But I made a statement to my colleague accountants that one thing I know, and I believe it to be true, is that there are several very knowledgeable chartered accountants in this country, Africa, and in the world. What makes them unprofessional is fear.
Fear.
Fear. That word fear. They fear for their lives. They fear for their jobs. They think their job is the same as their life. Oh, I may be attacked. I may be removed. I may lose my job. As a result of which, when they are threatened, they remove or they oversee or overlook some very key information. So, given the same level of courage, approach, and etc., I think we should have all arrive at the same conclusion.
But you lost your job.
Yes, I lost my job. I was not in any doubt that I'll lose my job. If you heard me earlier on, I had made several statements in that direction. I had stated very clearly that once you fight corruption, corruption will fight you back. There's no two ways about that. I remember in who I even drew attention to the people who had then started threatening that we will remove him, like how they removed the later commissioner, I've forgotten her name.
Charlotte Osei.
Charlotte Osei. And I stated that who's I care? I don't care, remove me. And I said people should know that leaving office is not the end of somebody's life. At times it may be a stepping stone for the person to go higher. So if we fear leaving our job, we compromise many times unnecessarily. And let me be honest with you, there are several good people in the public service who can help this country to become what it should be. But they want to keep their jobs.
But that doesn't make them good people, does it?
Yes. No, I'm talking about competent. They have the skills that they can use, but then they are not good people from your point of view, because they put their personal interest above that of the public or the national interest. Yeah.
What gave you that courage? Because you also eat, you drink, you have to pay your rent and so on. What is it that gave you that courage?
Let me be honest with you. Many people don't know that I've worked in the public service for a very long time. I served in the Control Accountant General's Department for about 18 years, at least more than 18 years, before joining the World Bank. And I've seen corruption from Rawlings' time to date. And at times you look at it and you say, why are you doing this to our country? And I've always wished, if I had the opportunity, I would give a deadly blow to these guys. But I didn't have the opportunity. Okay, so that was the starting point. Then the World Bank employed me as the senior financial management specialist, and I was operating basically in the southeastern part of Africa, Zimbabwe, Malawi, etc. And the same issues were confronting me. Anywhere you go, you see it face to face. Feely. You see corruption everywhere. You ask the gentleman, how much is your monthly salary? It's not even up to $200 or maybe $300, maximum $500. And you see the vehicle is driving. You say, they bought this for you? He said, no, it's my own. I said, oh, okay. You are able to save out of your $500 every month, and you're able to acquire this? How long have you been working anyway? At times 3 years, 5 years, and I say, oh, okay. there's a need for lifestyle audit. If you've ever heard of me saying that, I was convinced long ago before coming to office that we need lifestyle audit on public officers. Because if you look at what they earn and the type of life they live, there's a complete mismatch. So that job made me to come face to face with several other abuses of office, and I was dealing with auditors general, trying to capacitate them to ensure that, because I think in the equation of fighting corruption, I believe, this is my conviction, that auditors general have a key role to play in any country at all. If you have weak auditor general, forget about fight against corruption. You see, because the others, you have to report to the police for them to go investigate. You have to report to the OSP for them. But the auditor general, he has a constitutional duty every year to go out. And in the course of his work, he will find the corruption everywhere. But so if he is one who can overlook it, then you are finished. So I have always been urging auditors general that why don't you do this? It's in your law, including the disallowance and surcharge, which is in our constitution, Article 187 Clause 7B. It's in several laws. Trust me, anywhere audit law was going to be promulgated in Africa, I picked that one first and showed to them that look at this provision, which is in the Ghana's constitution. If you don't use this, then you are just creating, without any disrespect for your profession, you are just creating a journalist, not an auditor, because he's just going to report this is how they are stealing your money, and that is the end of the day. He has no mandate, but give him the mandate to take some action. And I show them that this is a provision not in just an act of parliament, but in the supreme law of Ghana, the constitution, and it is even an entrenched clause which you can't just get up and use parliament to change. The process of changing it is very laborious and painful. So many countries in West Africa, East Africa, South Africa was the last one to adopt it before I left office. I was Auditor General. When the Auditor General texted me, Daniel, you must be the first to hear this. The good news is that your mandate has been given by Parliament to also disallow and surcharge. So I was pushing for this, but it never went anywhere.
But in spite of the fact that you had this provision in the Constitution,
yes,
you could not apply it.
That is the point. And I had even helped
so you need something more than provisions.
Yes, I'm coming. So I helped many countries to put it in their laws, but none of them applied it. Then I came to Ghana. When I was appointed, it was the first thing which hit me on the face. I said, Daniel, it's now your time to show that that must be done. Are you now going to tell other auditors general that when you were now appointed, you could not do what you have been telling them to do? So I said, no, I will do it. Fortunately, and I say fortunately because the timing was very good. Before coming to office, Occupy Ghana had gone to Supreme Court against the Auditor General that he was sleeping on that responsibility. He was not disallowing and surcharge. And there was a unanimous decision from the Supreme Court to say no, Auditor General must do it, and they issued consequential orders that whenever you come across, you must do it. They even interpreted the may, which is in the Constitution, that may disallow and judge. Said that may here is not persuasive, it's binding. The only reason why it is may is because if they put shall, that means every audit must end up in a disallowance and surcharge. So that may turns into shall anytime you come across an unlawful expenditure. So they gave this interpretation. I said, oh, thank God, we will have to try it. So we went to town and started trying it. It is not easy. Let me also say that it is something which is a novelty, especially in the the British system. What do you call it?
The Commonwealth?
No, not Commonwealth. Those who do a British approach. Okay, I've forgotten the term, but the English approach of auditing. We have different type of approach. The French type of approach is different from the audit one. In the French system, most of the times, the auditor is a judge. So they call the court of accounts. So you go before the Auditor General, as he sits as a judge. In fact, when I was in Mozambique last year, I met the Auditor General. So I asked him in the order of judges, what is your rank? He says the number 2. I said, oh wow. So after the Chief Justice, he is the number 2. I said, wow. So this is somebody who goes, do the audit, make the findings, bring you to his own court, and
knocks you out.
I said, this is interesting. So I thought it was very necessary to do that, because if we don't implement those provisions of the Constitution, then the Auditor General is, like I said, doing nothing more than you, the journalists, have been doing. You have been uncovering several wrongdoing, is that not it? Reporting on daily basis. So I think the Auditor General must go a little bit further. I knew the challenge which will come later on, but I could not put my selfish interest above that of the nation. And I thought I should go to town and do it. And again, forgive me, but I was also convinced that in the fight against corruption, we should not be looking down there. We should be looking up there. Because in public financial management, it storms at the top and drizzles at the bottom. So we're wasting our resources and time going down the bottom looking for abuses. You go to Bumburgu Secondary School or Gabagawa whatever secondary school, and you find $100 Ghana cedis which cannot be accounted for. You put that in audit report, and they will travel at the cost of maybe 200 or 300 using public funds to come and defend it in parliament. I say, this is not what we have to look at. If you hit the minister, if you hit the chief director, if you hit the director, it will cascade, and that brings about the deterrence part of the whole thing. So that's why I was doing it. Not that I didn't know that there was risk. I knew the risk. I was ready to take that risk.
Well, viewers, we're going to go for another break, commercial break, and when we come back, I'd like to find out from our guest whether he's satisfied with the outcome of auditing. It's one thing auditing, establishing the facts and so on, but what happens, thereafter? Short break. Welcome back to Talk Time, and we have the privilege of talking to Mr. Daniel Domelevo, former Auditor General. Now, sir, the Constitution, I suppose, insists on the establishment of a public tribunal to deal with cases of abuse, arising out of, Why has that tribunal not been established yet? Do you know?
To be honest with you, I have no idea why it has not been established. Let me also add to say that even if you look at Clause 8 of Article 35, it says the state shall take steps to eradicate corruption and abuse of public office. It's one of the directive principles of state policy. You can see for yourself or judge for yourself whether the state is rather facilitating corruption these days, or if I say these days, I'm not talking about this regime, over the years actually, whether the state has not been rather facilitating corruption and abuse of office. So there are a lot of good things in our Constitution. Yesterday I was having a discussion with my friend, a friend of mine, and I said, well, there are several areas of the Constitution which may need improvement if the opportunity is there. But being an accountant, I look at the balance, not the individual transactions. I look at the debit and credit. So if you say your accounts have a credit balance of 20 million, doesn't mean there are no debits. There may be debit and credit, but the credit exceeds the debit, so the guy is okay. So, but if you look at it from that point of view, I think we have a good Constitution, except that we have a good tool in the hands of a bad worker. It's just like, excuse me again for my bad examples, you sharpening a cutlass and giving to a madman, and he enters the street. You may find some few bodies being chopped into pieces. But then if you go into the bush, you may produce yam, you may produce cassava, you may produce maize, etc. for us. So I don't think that the Constitution is bad. There are several good things in our constitutions, but public office holders, or let me say political leaders in the country, have found it necessary to ignore them, not to do what they are supposed to do, and as a result, you and I, we are here. One of them which bleeds my heart is about fiscal decentralization. Why the fiscal management of the country is all within 3 kilometers square of Accra. So you do some work, even a teacher employed in Boku or Bolga, etc. His salary has to travel the full length of the country so that he comes here and they promote him or transfer him on the... I say, but as I'm sitting here, if you give me the chance, I can go on my phone and start checking my mails and etc. When you are in your farm, at times you can take a break and you start checking your mails wherever, provided there's a signal. So today's day and age, we are still centralized the fiscal management of the country, as a result of which the administrative structures created by the government have become postal agents, a waste of our resources. We have regional administration or coordinating council, we have district administration or coordinating council and sub-district coordinating, but they have no resources to prosecute the agenda of where they are. So a bridge breaks in a village somewhere, the requests have to travel all the way to Accra for the money to be made available. So why are they there? So these are some of the things which beat my mind, that government after government have overlooked the need for fiscal decentralization, which to me also fights corruption. In fact, it reduces corruption in the sense that, you see, anytime I sip water from this bottle, you see it going down because the quantity is small. Tell me how many tankers will I use on the sea, at the ocean, so that you can see that the water has reduced. So if you centralize, centralization breeds corruption. Otherwise, we should have had only one world president, so that we rule the whole world from one point of view. We need to decentralize such that funds follow function. There will be efficiency there. The decision making, the resources, as well as the activity, they are close to each other. It makes decisions efficient and less costly than what it has been all this while. So let me be very honest with you. We have a lot to do. Many times I look at public service and say, are people occupying public service just to make money or because they have something to offer? I think the second one is not the case. You see some people, the way they behave, the talents or the skills they have, which they can use to help the country, and they are not doing it. And I ask, so is it just that you want to benefit from the public resources or funds and not to offer something to your country? So that is where we are as a nation. You and I, we have a lot to do, interrogate the work of government, and I also want to appeal. Public office holders should remember what they are called. They are called public servants. They are supposed to serve the interests of the public, not their interests. Many times I remember there was one function when the vice president was there, and I asked him, the current vice president, what is the meaning of the word public servant? Because it looks to me that word has been turned upside down. Because a servant who the master cannot even enter his office, people going into a public servant's office, their hearts are beating, they are afraid. Say, this is the director's office. Hey, you can't be on your, you can't do this, you can't. And I say, how do you go to your servant and you are so scared see your servant? So we must redefine public service, such that it must be a service which try to propagate the interests of the people, instead of looking at the interests of the leaders. You know, that's how it was given to us by our colonial masters. And we were happy to collect that and replace the colonial masters. It was not to serve the interests, but to ensure we procure the interests or protect the interests of the colonial master. Now, when we took over, we became a replacement for the colonial master, such that the minister is not there, the chief director is not there, almost nothing moves in the ministry. The Auditor General is not around, everybody is sitting. I said, no, your job is not to serve me. Your job is to serve Ghana. So every time you come to office, plan what you are doing to earn that your salary, which is serving the country. If we reorientate our public service, I think it will be good.
So you've seen the drama that unfolds in Parliament after the release of the Auditor General's report. Public Accounts Committee, public sittings.
Yes.
Any comments?
Don't lead me into temptation. Anytime I look at them doing their own thing, at times I laugh. And it's like a well-rehearsed drama. And the chairman will say, you honorable so take so, and the person comes and gives some wishy-washy explanation. And I remember there was one of the cases where they said there was light off, or it was a weekend, so they couldn't use their system. That's why they did it manual, and the light never came back. And so I'm like, you take all these type of explanations. The question I want to ask Public Accounts Committee is that the way they have been superintending over the audit report, if that report were about their property, would they treat it that way? Assuming your company, an audit report came and told you how they have misused resources, will you treat it the way they have been treating it? If yes, then congratulations to them. If no, then shame on them.
Are there some reforms that you'd like to see in the handling of the Auditor General's report?
Exactly. First and foremost, one of the things that I think we should try and do very well is the disallowance and surcharge. I think it's a very important tool, not only because it can recover some of the money for us, it brings about deterrence. People know that, well, if I'm caught, I will not be set free. So remember, when we say surcharge, the Supreme Court defined it not to be recovery. It is recovery plus a penalty. So it means you take 10,000, the Auditor General may calculate and say, okay, you took 10,000, pay back 15 or 20,000. And me, to avoid arbitrariness, what I did was I chose to use the lending rate of the central bank. That I take it that you have borrowed government's money. So from that date, I calculate the interest till the day that you pay. So that you don't ask me, how did you give Mr. A this amount instead of Mr. B? I was suspecting that that case will come out one day in court, that he doesn't like me, so see how big my surcharge is as against the other one. So surcharge and disallowance, I think, is a very important tool in our constitution, which if we are able to implement, I have the view that will bring about sanity. Because all this indiscipline is because there are no consequences for misbehavior. I argue and tell people that the Ghanaians working at the World Bank and IMF, etc., they are not angels than the rest of us. But they are disciplined because they know that nobody's going to listen to you. There's no room. Once you pull the water down, you are gone. Or the sanction will be applied without fear or favor. So if we're able to do that, I think it's good. But since the audit report does not only contain monies paid contrary to law, but also most of the times it has a lot of internal control issues, that is weak controls in place, which may occasion future losses and abuse of office. I think that the Public Accounts Committee should save themselves the time of sitting down and now asking directors, so what have you done all these years? No, they should ask them to come with an action plan to address the issues prior to. So that report will have been with the committee. The committee will have interrogated it. If they are satisfied with what you say you are doing, I don't think we need even to invite you. So just say, well, given the control measures you say you are putting in place, we are giving you up to this date, implement them and report to us. That ends it. It's only those that they are not satisfied with that they may have to interrogate. And again, in some jurisdiction, specifically Kenya, I remember, their law provides that 3 months after receiving the audit report, they should sit on it. Ghana, there is no law. Therefore, you can hear today that they are going to sit on maybe 2020 or 2021 or even earlier date, so and so. Just as we say, justice delayed is justice denied. Also, that delay is also a loss of value to us as a country. So those changes, if they can happen, I think it will be good. Finally, we have introduced something we call audit committees, which have been given the mandate or the responsibility of ensuring that MDAs implement the recommendations of the Auditor General. That is complete wastage. It's complete nonsense. If a chief director, you are told that you are not wearing shoes, put on shoes. Somebody has to come and supervise you wearing shoes. I think then the next thing which should happen is vacate your position. It's as simple as that. So Government should stop wasting our resources, as I said earlier on, throwing more resources at people. Whenever we talk about wastage, they create additional layer to waste more of our resources. I think audit committees is a completely useless concept. I've advocated this internationally. This is not the first time I'm talking about it. And so if you are in charge of running an organization and there are infractions, and the infractions have been brought to your attention, what do? You address them immediately. If you did not address them and it goes to parliament, they just give you a deadline by which, if you don't address them, you vacate your position or face the consequence. Do you have to set up a committee to go and do that? So these are some of the changes I think, if they are done, it will be good. Not to forget about internal audit. We are talking so far about the external audit. Internal audit is very, very, very important. You see, the external auditors are like those, I've forgotten the term they use in medical terms. Those who look at the dead body, I've forgotten. They come in when the person is dead. They can only tell you the cause is a heart failure.
Pathologists. The
pathologists, yes. The external auditors are like pathologists, but the person is dead anyway. In the first place, he's dead. Okay? But the internal auditors are like physicians. They take care of you when you are still alive. Okay, they are on the spot. So we need to strengthen internal audit, make them independent, make them professional, resource them, pay them well, and that will save us more money than audit coming in a year or more later to discover how wasteful our resources have been.
Another short break, and when we come back, I'd like to ask a very simple question. You are still alive, appear to have a lot of energy. Yes. What do you want to do for Ghana? Short break. Well, welcome back to Talk Time, and we are in a conversation with Mr. Daniel Domelevo, former Auditor General, now doing many things for many organizations, including the World Bank and so on. Now, sir, you are retired, but obviously not retarded.
Yes.
Lot of energy and so on.
Yeah.
How do you see yourself contributing to Ghana's development, especially the fight against corruption?
Well, thank you for that. Let me say that one thing that I don't think I will stop doing is advocating a fight against corruption, because I make it clear, and I want to state it clearly again, that even us, we are fighting. Look at the level of corruption. So what do you think will happen if we stop? So all those who are fighting corruption and are about giving up because corruption is fighting them, I encourage them that never let us give up. If we give up, it will be terrible. It's just like disease control. Even now that there are a lot of researches, interventions to prevent and preempt or cure diseases, we are still dying of so much sickness. Assuming they said we have given up, no more intervention, I think we will all die within a very short time. So it is with corruption. Corruption is one big infection or disease, the effect of which it affects everybody, including the corrupt themselves. Because if you divert the money for the road, little do you remember that you may enter pothole and then you burst your tire or go into a ditch or die as a result of that. So the fight against corruption, I will continue to advocate for it, not only in Ghana, worldwide, but Ghana is basically at the top of my heart. Anytime a group of people want us to sit down and see or discuss how do we address those institutional arrangements and procedures and policies, I am available to do that. But personally, I don't have intention of setting up a committee or a company, etc. of myself. I don't want to go into that because I know how corruption fights back. They will even tell you the land on which you are is supposed to be for something else before you realize they have demolished the building. If you are fighting corruption, you must be very careful of the areas you enter. So from time to time, I give talk. I go to University of Ghana or Association University, etc., and I share these ideas with especially the young ones who are coming. And one thing which breaks my heart is if you hear the extent to which our younger ones are corrupt. It is alarming. I thought we should catch them young so that if we are bad, sorry about that, but they can replace us and it is good. And you go to the university and they tell the stories you hear there, and I'm like, oh my God. So are you guys surprised that people are corrupt in public office? Is that not the produce that you are carrying out? You are producing the thing. So why are you corrupt? Why are you surprised? So, but then we should not give up. We should continue doing whatever we are doing, and I'm sure one day, with the right leadership, Ghana should be able to make a good turn and get things better than what we are doing now or having now.
Are there some reforms that you would advocate for the Auditor General's outfit?
For the Auditor General's outfit, I think it is quite okay. The office need only to be resourced, that is all. Because it has structures far bigger than you can expect in many jurisdictions in the world, even the developed countries. Okay, in many jurisdictions you will find the Auditor General's office only at the center. It's highly centralized. The rest become traveling and etc. But the Ghana Audit Service, or the Office of the Auditor General in Ghana, has regional offices in almost all the regions. I say almost all the regions because, you know, there are some 6 regions which were just recently created. I don't know, they secured fund to get them office, but I don't know how it has gone up to now, including the new districts. And so there are district offices also. So what they need is resources, because the audit is something that you normally don't just do sitting in your office. You have to go and verify most of the times. And if there is one recommendation or there is one change in approach that I will advocate that they do more of performance audit, or what people refer to as value for money audit. We do more of that, because given the level of technology and knowledge today, if you want evidence to support that I bought this, people can go on the net, produce genuine documents, source documents, etc., so that you yourself will even clap for them. Meanwhile, it is still fake. But then the question is, are we getting value for our money? If it is your money, will you use it to buy what you bought? Was there a need for it? And the value at which you are getting it, is it good? And when we finish buying it, you won't believe that if you go to the public service, at times they buy items, and our procurement officers will tell you that they follow the due procurement process. There is value for money. And I ask, where's the value for money for the water you bought and threw away? You are not drinking the water. You bought the water to be drunk and you are not drinking it. I hope you saw a lot of state vehicles which are rotting. You saw even structures put in place for hospitals or schools or for whatever, which are just deteriorating. So how do we define value for money? If we can change the audit to do more of value for money audit, it will help the country, because the regularity audit, which is the financial audit and etc., good as it is, can easily be beaten these days by technology. And if we can do value for money more than those audits, I think it will be good. This is not a recommendation for only Ghana Audit Service. It's a recommendation I'll be making to the Auditors General wherever I met them. They say, look, do you know that the source document that you were happy with, for all you know, is fake? And I had a situation where I showed them 2 documents and say, this one and this one, which one is original? They look at it and they say, as for this one, this is original, this is also original. They say, how can you have 2 originals? So technology has made it so that the fake one can even look far better than the original one. So let's push our attention more into performance or value for money audit. Thank you.
Well, sir, thank you very, very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we do hope that from time to time, when you pass through Ghana, you will give us the benefit of your experience. Thank you so very much for coming to us. Thank you, sir.
No, it's a pleasure, and thanks for hosting me.
Yes.
Thank you.
MPP emblem, no, aboa osono, nti ono oye den. MPP emblem no, aboa osono, nti ono oye den. MPP emblem no, aboa osono, nti ono oye den. MPP emblem no, aboa osono, nti ono oye den. MPP emblem no, aboa osono, nti ono oye den. MPP emblem no, aboa osono, nti ono oye den. MPP emblem no, aboa osono, nti ono oye den. MPP emblem no, aboa osono, nti ono oye den. MPP emblem no, aboa osono, nti ono oye den. MPP emblem no, aboa osono, nti ono oye den. MPP emblem no, aboa osono, nti ono oye den. MPP emblem no, aboa osono, nti ono oye den. MPP emblem no, aboa osono, nti ono oye den. MPP emblem no, aboa osono, nti ono oye den. MPP emblem no, aboa osono, nti ono oye den. MPP emblem no, aboa osono, nti ono oye den. MPP emblem no, aboa osono, nti ono oye den. MPP emblem no, aboa osono, nti ono oye den. MPP emblem no, aboa osono, nti ono oye den. MPP emblem Wow.
Say MPP symbol no ya aboa.
Osono.
Ti na che say MPP for ina.
The papa for the cars and I don't know this.
Say. So what I say? But na fair no one to aso am.
Ba ku for the kodi.
But I was for yanka no kure bi okurum ha. Ade amba oman we ntimi nkọ nanim corruption. Now today let me take my time. Let me want take corruption as I say. Nipa bi o wasase so. Including Yesu Christo. All of us nipa bi ofi obaye mbaye bia was born corrupt, including Christ. But eyewo and obe decide say me corrupt. Esan say Yesu sunsum konkron na ne mere daaye na mom oba na chim no wu no nti Satan nya akukuduro etimi ko ka kire nse wo se we ye nyame badia ye say we ye nyame bada na oboyi abodo. Satan wanted to corrupt Christ, but the son said na Christo oye nyame na wa body trimu pose on me feeling kekawa en kane hunti one succumb to Satan. We were all born corrupt. Ye corrupt. Ye sadi ye wu ye. Then it is up to Canada, Japan. Say ne yire out danachi. Wakwaji contract 100 million Ghana cedis. So by your street light 1 year. I said Kennedy nya adwesa meyere we ya krom for 1 meja 2 physical come abai. I said Captain Smart. Etimi say number 1. Yeah, your mind, yeah, political party. Enti wuntimi nkote baby. Na wuria abayeniema. No, wrong. But eno eneni pantiasie. When the African man is corrupt, he calls himself a businessman. And I will explain. Che Bible ni Quran mu kura nyameje 10%. It is a way a contractor. Na your mom abaye juma. Now profit margin is 10%. I think it's enough. But so kwaje kwan no school dan no na woji sika na wansia. Trouble wo ho ye beje sika. And I came here to sound this warning. Why was we MPP minister, MP chief executive, we are Bermano or Afrawa or Pamenko? What you come on a mood job and my fellow markets, wood job and minority no mood job and mood job and Canadian Japan. $30 million contract, Professor Mills the time. Why Jumano, you will cost the money? Somebody should tell Canada, Japan. Why you won't bear my Oklahoma? You think you are the only man? Me, I was waiting for the right time to deal with people at the right time. Mr. Ken said $30 million no contract, no. Oh yeah. Kufuor time, Canada, Japan. Air conditions and necessary supply to ministries, departments, and agencies. No, he did not. And this man can have the effrontery to sit in this country. We a minister of state, no per contract to one farmer now. Not work what's on the TV in the radio. So no, I was so pow poto. But we are now the American work was sign contract now, man. Really? No. Me. I'm telling you today. But some 100 million Ghana cedis street light contract in the one can check Canada, Japan. Opa. Onye the ope. That money he must account for it. On the year. Nobody is afraid of that man who. He must get it straight. If he say, your husband say, 3P. Say 3P kwaje abai 100 million Ghana. Nejebi kwaje 100 million. Mema kwaje 100 million. Efiaje 100 million. Peter je 100 million. Kene Japan kro mu kwaye discover na be. Not to come house of Wosika. Massa. Wosika. Really? Really? Auditor General's report now, a ball where you medino. The same Auditor General's report in a ball would say 100.2 million Ghana cedis. A shawayenato. Street light no ye. And then after your markets can be doing blah 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 blah. Say orally illegal. We a bema. Wa ora befra wono menko. But you know, English a man from MP on one case did because misro. As I said, you told me, Mam, in Krata, in my return, You think, sir, people, I want to stand. People think we are fools in this country. No, I want to stand. People think we are fools in this country. I don't prefer to say, Jimmy, and yet, see your name, we Ghana for the Yabobo Badam, the Nimjansa. Ubeso chame say efia TSC FFF sankafia ono yamano East Legon asase 1 acre so go to 50,000 tin compare na MPP nkwadan ketenkete amu sabe mu jabo na kura mu hu moto pepa kura mu so ada mu kasa useless cocoons one so no mu bie wo ma no na wo kasa. You were following such a corrupt administration. And people don't want us to talk. Me, my catch there, NDC for one say, me hamudi. Na modi monte kwakwa. Na mbete poke. Kote kwakwa. Ombe bo monsema mama se. O maina yetimu no bebia MPP says, sa papa de friend akufa do ho. Once o mubu ni tiri to from Crystal na osre.
No osre, ahomasro. De ahomasro osre.
And you people think that and Kwesi Jnr almost say, so obi a wo, enyo obi a wo sika bia okrom ha na e corrupt. But someone should tell Kennedy Japan yere ne say, 100.2 million Ghana cedis no, she would account for that money. Tell me with him how useless something is. Now, wow, pay Maya 3. Me obi mpoba mami. Ken, I am telling you today. Ken, me obi mpoba mami. And a sabi buru sabi nyado. Yetete ma himfinti mi ndi kwase ya. Wuni ma me catch row and net plane. Girls now was small, no me useless women. Omo ho kura anyefe, omo aporo omo nyenyen bisa. You bring such a ladies to me a guy brutal. Minimenku ane boarding aye tomo ba strategy. And yes, I useless things now you sent them to me. No. Get it straight. When you want to fight corruption, the system will fight you. And me, I am ready to fight the system. That is why I JB Frebi na no tu ahene no si ahene me we are rougher metu
Odogu
we are rougher metu. And it's about time a Ghana for you there's a CSS and yet MPP and then NDCO and yet MPP and NDCO look say CS you dum kania. Na fancy ye dum odododio kania say MPP parliamentary candidate wo ho so no so kania bedum kania no nim MPP kania no nim NDC. Meanwhile ya friend say afenyo markets say aban ni nya akuku da bi nya afenyo markets sam wo manage minister bi na okodo sa kwa ya friend say debe ya crap house then or say aban no problem be any ho na onye bema na aban ni face problem rubbish and useless.
Open that was
Rubbish and useless. Say at Kroma. Huh? Abai we have boka over $2 billion US na egu actually. Bibia ofri. Akufado ene ne ken oforiata. Etimi a raise bonds nko anya besen bonds ne nko 13.3 billion, $13.5 billion. $13.5 billion. Can for that any akufado? Entimi anti 2 billion. Any kakrebi edaso. Granted 3 billion. Entimi anti 3 na that 13 no so. Enkotuaka enfie nwotwe akufado be di president Nkrumah when tua gas kada ofree. Now it was a way MPP ni fa Jimmy free me TV ni so 3 years when tua gas kada 3 years fuel ani e di kogum kutukutukutu dia wo so kane wo fie na ye free Senye sa mahama nim nyansa chen na nadoa ke de sumu sesi ame no kasai I'm telling you today
What's it?
Me say nyesa mahama nim nyansa chen na nadoa ke de sumu And Bahama said that, no, I'm not interested in say, we are nyese, we'll keep the lights on. This is nyansania me to Abama no. And I am proud of myself. I voted for John Dramani Mahama. Me to Abama Pebedi president. When I vote against you, you are going to opposition. Next time we share me tokrum baby, who say many na ye call, won kasa ye kanea. Mom, some catch up down Ghana for who I am. Na me te banchwa, na me di makokora, na me te hodi, na me hemo, na me sere.
Now, Osa, Sisifi,
na me hemo di. You guys don't know me.
Oh, mesre.
Mafia. Akufado oko. Petrol a ye digu aeroplane wenja 1 gallon. Gallon. Wenja bi gallon. Aviation fuel no be ni koto.
Gallon they will say you say gallon.
Gallon say gallon. Akufado wenja 1 gallon.
Gallon then I can say.
That be gallon.
You say.
Wenja bi Nana wenja 1 gallon. I told you. Rollins eja bosumi miensa. Kufuor eja bosumi miensa. Mohammed Jana na do bosumi nsia fuel. Akufado okono. Ojayen 3 hours. Enrubo ebinim say 5 hours. Granted. Hold on, meba. Fuel ojayen no. I came here to tell you. Senyesa Mahama nimi nyansa chen Akufado a. Anka fuel in Ghana kanye nya binto. The Kenyans are some of say a political party. Who ye people ni Germany? Nonsense. Time na ye bu ye voter regia catch abo. Ye nam srem ye bu ye krobi or don't know if I say na rugu say na rugu. Eboa
okoye de o.
O say
okoye de.
Me koye campaign na me kufo.
E na ye de.
MPPT.
E na ye de.
Bo mu bu ye no.
O ye de ye bo.
Na bag bo machi.
Kasa. Okoye de.
Bag bo machi.
Okoye de.
Yeah. One so muna ye be a bag mu na say. How did these things get into your bag?
What is that thing?
You are nonsense. Nonsense. Where are people need why? Huh? Where are people need why? Me say Bisa Akufado, I saved his life twice. Or I say Rebecca Kura nim. Then also they being kada. Listen. And yes, sir, and you boomer. Nyabutre. And yes, son, you boomer. Say na Rollins Jama Kufanka Kufobet me boomer. Really? Say, and a Mills, Kufosu Jama Mills, Camels bet me atana. Say, and Your friend saying, Mohammed German and I do young come to me. Because in your side, you do mine, every before you buy a woman be. And I would break it down for you. So more is Sanyan Sadibian, Kaya Canada, Japan, 102 million Ghana City street light contracts. Do you know why? Canada, Japan had the effrontery and not cheer and ass. No, yeah, Nas, who Canada, Japan. Now, yeah, Alfred Agbesi, why me? And who it is a wajib contract, no execute here. What's been coming, Chilano, on the year? Mewa. What's been Yanahee? Papa, wait to me, Kudro, the catcher, and the dampare was what to her. CDS to her. A NIB. It's a man and coca galam say as someone can NIB actually 5 times. Canada Japan say he was called and I'm a wajabi. Yeah. Said he was offered a bribe of $800 million.
Yeah.
Ghana security in Penifam. You guys sat down and watched this thing. Say I offered a bribe of $800 million and nobody did anything. A country like Ghana, poor nation. Aye here sikaya kwai esi school dan aye nsuo kwabrane say ya friend say omeji $800 million. Don't step it down. Dan parent me anche no NIB ntimi anche no Shraj anka ho he dai yoko anka ho he your friend say check my style me ame wafa sensi kandapa ntimi anche Canada Japan. What kind of a country are we building? Look for that video and play for me. And you guys think that we are joking. $800 million. Canada Japan say a joke. Say $800 million. Now on Tenassi, men kobi. Yenya nipe bi a odwen ebo kroba mana amfre no. But let me tell you, I am not Ahmed Swale. So when ma me catch ro pe fantini bi hu cha igbeni na santini bi hu cha nsremuni me nya Ahmed Swale obi nka check the Japan ente she wana wo ho nka won fi one blow say po ka bete poke. So when ma me catch me, I am saving a country. I am not interested in any political party. I don't give a damn to MPP. I don't give a damn to the NDC. $800 million. So we are doing Canada Japan station. Think. Also what you mean? Omeji $800 million. Usumo I tracker. Abranti ya onome starting to kwe. Kweku anan ni entuaneka. Look for that video for me. $800 million. But video, mami. Bo.
Oh, I say, mami, $500 million. Let me step down. For me, do approach me. Me see delegates any Ghana who don't. I would never do it.
Time FM.
The money they offered was $800 million. If he doesn't know, you should ask Mr.
Who offered that money?
It is
no. You see, Ghana for Jim Brafier and this thing want to become a president. Do you know how much money I was offered? We have a catch us over 150. Can I report? Do I Woko America now treat taxi. Taxi driver ban a America. Or what a 150. Or Mississippi. Now from house of Yat to us of Yat looking at the bound. Who is afraid? I'm did Yankopon. Peter on him. No, I smart girls. Hey, Ken, really? And we? Me will be problem, and me will be Safia. Corruption na wo krom ha. The enti ama yentimi fighting Ghana and Central for. Omaye say me JB Efiatago Onia TV TV3 Joy One TV stations radio stations media houses e wo Ghana yen ne yama yentimi fighting corruption. I'm telling you today. Yen because the media is corrupt. The media is corrupt to the core. Oh, since Centronia or ye Kessie, Wabo Sakura, TV so ni radio so, etimi ko chief of staff office, say me yere car say na kafi temua. Chief of staff didn't go asem obetumi aka. Who was Centronia penny wo krom ha, senior journalist. Na ya ko $1 million will be them or send a bra wu ye na bonus as sabia buru sabia nyado asante him akura wu ye otumfo nya $1 million in sabode. No, come to think of it. Sabia buru sabia nyado enya ba ni na me de be kasa asam ye acha me mfancha me sabia buru sabia nyado asante him akura wu ye asante manya in sabode $1 million. Now when you're senior journalist, not to TV, so say, nebra who ye, ne your bonds $1 million. Okay, Ghana for me catch them on me met me the fear eka, met me at the JB car, met me at the Abraham car, Peter car, 3P Garlic, met me at the car. But some me we are Ghana sika de ekwadwo menya. Eno de menya. If you don't know, I am telling you, eno de ekwadwo menya. We say we are, what the minister? What the MP? We say ora frawa wonko. We are bema. I am men ko. Oh, simple. Parliament won negotiations here Juma say would man make catch her afenyo markets to sorry fee appointment committee no a plan
a lie
you think we don't know? We know. Parliamentary democracy. Parliament woman na share woman mra and on one di woman mra so tiye afenyo markets catch her say they will never stage a walkout and I want within the next 1 hour. No, I saw the Jahoko. A lie. Ya traba komatie. A lie.
David feel when you be.
Ya tra komatie.
Let's say who say we cry.
Let's say who say we cry.
A lie.
It's with them afenyo markets into parliament. No country say oral illegal. What do you mean there? Afenyo markets sika bi ani ni ho. Afenyo markets. We cry.
A lie.
Afenyo markets sika bi ani ni ho. Ento country say illegal la ono ye mfre no. But when you at the former defense minister, na menko. When you say jeton ufie hono, you say $9 ufie menko.
But where's your a dime I 14?
When you what's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
And boys are
14 houses. Each house I more than $2 million. Say ora frewa I am men called the affair market speaker on yellow hay. Ninia Hassan Ayarega on yellow hay. Or your MP or enjoy immunity. What the court crack question in some more Cremo and Radisson Manenge. Wouldn't mean to affair market to now what also your bema.
Don't go.
I am men call
me a boy for her.
What I am men call. Oh, don't go. Well, we are Berman, or Frewa. I am menko. Now be who says na former Auditor General Domelevo. To what train?
COP Kofi Boache.
On my way, we will save this country and nobody.
Because you yes, sorry, I can't know Rafi. Now me call East Lego. Omone, I'm so much by your one ever. Omone, guys, bina. Who said, "Who free hand mo branch out East Lego kwano swap." Omo the fence will be not fence, but I'm chance down with the fast as on your project. My junior, I'm saying, oh, Sarah.
What's the way, Bema? Don't go. What ya Bema? Man, call. Ghana for you. And yes, Obi Papa Beko jail. And yes, sir, Obi Papa called that baby and I do. But that's we are security and intelligence. We are crime analysis. There will be afraid the deterrent theory. Somebody must be deterred from committing crime. Huh? Somebody must be afraid of committing crime. Omena yetim no wuntumi tumi nya akukuduro no wakotena TV so na o show gold. No wakatwa said this is real cash. Nobody questions anyone. Obia biso obia she. Me MPP for say me twa ban no eti ye frame Ghana Revenue Authority me koye a panel of 7 and ete ho ye tro me krata mimi ho hinti ye ma ohima wo ye je krata ne bi wo ohima wo ye je number no wo pa afre no oye restaurant ene shito. And so mimi ho hinti ye fa Ghana Revenue Authority e fa krata tro hima wo ye je se o mbe yi anu kwan o fa so a oye shito. Nyabutre shito ye the cement na ye shito. Yey mimi ti kwaku atin GRA friend no ye invite me am ko teni o me a presenter like me. My year Juma from 2001. Obe so ka say Dine Sit and Try Hills and me say sanka me nyanya answer for. Sanka me nyanya answer for. From Radio Peace to Otek me 1 month salary me the top brand new car tier rubber. Kubi so Otek for the control. Na ya for Romeo white. AS 801T. From there to Kes Radio, I was the highest paid presenter. From there to Fox FM, I was the highest paid. From there to Adom, I was the highest paid presenter. From Adom to Angel, I was the highest paid presenter. You want to tell me, sir, me to sit down and sit and no? Now you're framing the Ghana Revenue Authority for him. How did you build your house? And so, oh, Papa Cement Aira.
Captain Smart.
Captain, you don't respect them. Say, hey,
Tobo. Shows.
Oh, Papa Cement Aira. Oh, Papa Cement Aira. Oh, Papa Nsuo Aira. Oh, Papa Yon Ross Aira. Oh, Debbie. So why did you call me here? These are the receipts of the things I bought. Oh. And I bought them on credit. My many friend queer.
What is your name?
Of Uncle Runabout.
Oh.
Oh. But so be the minister 8 years. No, we're dying 14. Captain Smart, they invite no. But minister, in fear what
he is smart.
And then do 9. What's the daddy? Look, let me stand here and tell whoever is listening. Hey, John Mama.
Captain Smart.
Temye. Me mo bi and that say. And I want you be here. Be harding. And father for all. Professor Mr. Crowd father for all by who? Listen, Ghana for her, John A. Man, to about myself, I'm crum coin. Mempe. Because in Futukana, my first word tantra, 8 years. It's I am immune to in Futukana. The entire two Abama or John Mama and say, Unima may catch them. And they say, the entire two Abama wouldn't say, Unima ye catch no John. And they say, one, Ghana could receive bonds $13.5 billion. $13.5 billion. Yeah, we want to know. That's number one. John, if you don't know, I am telling you.
He is smart.
Number two, Nanado. We are publishing 1.2 trillion. Ghana cities, and yet old Ghana cities, so you for time no. Current cities no. 1.2 trillion. We want to know. Are there this Asican yay? We want to know. That's number two. Point number three. Cocoa board. Or the car close to $5 billion. That is how much cocoa board is owing.
You have just
cocoa board. Yeah, the cocoa now say, with him say, oh, Bahama no mamo. Cocoa now you better na few you know. Akufado de esi awa emfienson. E shall say 2024. Nti emfiensia da Bahama ni me ho be 4 years. Cocoa now you better okrom ha no. Can for that ni Akufado de esi awa dada. Agi sika wo ho di mfienkron. That is Kennedy. So we want Bahama to come investigate and tell us. And then you did Ghana cocoa na kosi awa agi sika na di dada. That is number 4. Number 5. John A. Osaje full badge. My penny that fly Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlins and a crabai. When to be in Tiakanwe and a J. Kufo and the Sika sauce near Tamadian from Italy and the Adeba Ghana. John A. Yadi Adian bedroom Ghana no. Esiwo, one Casa John Mahama would be president no. Who can say Italians they say Adiano around and a yet 2 Amenano square. And said the Adian Siswa and ye. And Crawford go here adwuma na olusu 2016 Akufado aton ade $125 million no scraps me yet try $3.5 million. This is what we want you to investigate. Point number 6. Canada Japan yere waje 102 million Ghana cedis so be street lighter e wo Ghana hey na abaya na anye. We want to know. Maybe a scar boy. We want to know. The next point we want to know is then a get fund. Rollins na de buy. It's been a quarter aduane they ate 3p garlic or yeah juma they ate tax they are to get fund him say enkwada textbooks I say it be printed books emma ye man no mko school matimi akan say ye man a ya wo no okosko a onya table akonwa ne pono tena ho kana fori atane na na do de akosi awa agisika edi mfienso enti say ya me no ka say get fund so ye de asi awa. We want to know at the kuna omudi si awa no sika ne de omudi ye Jomame. Next point e-levy. Ghana Revenue Authority. Ghana for some minimum make catch on your money e-levy. And Ghana Revenue Authority, energy e-levy. There's a special account at e-levy come. Who is in charge of that account? Who owns that account? Who operates that account? John Mahama, that is what we want to know. Hey, my me try e-levy make ko ene bra, unim benya asem.
Wani.
Wutwam ria. Ma yehu. Se sika no. Na ekwa ha. Na ekwa ha. At the account with Ghana for I report somebody say e-levy daso Paris in the sia wa.
Kasongo ye. Mombali nanga. Kasongo mbona.
Omo de sia wa. Betting tax na. I've heard people say, hey, Me aminia Gideon Boako. I respect him so much. A very young, fantastic man. Gideon, I respect you so much. But listen to me. Baumia can't so betting tax. You were supporting it. We should laud Baumia for saying, sir, obetra betting taxing. Okay. Mahama can so better I will see it will do something to the IMF deal. Really? Baumia na Mahama hwan nim nyansa. Mahama nim nyansa bebre boom 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 che Baumia. Se nyansa ni catch us memo aduane adi. Ha? No obi so a otenche ba bi so catch us memo aduane adi a tie nyansa ni nasem. Oh, cause nyansa ni catch us memo aduane adi a yes. Obi fufura catch us memo aduane adi a eye ne. Oh. It's a fa Baumia ntoto Mahama ho kra. What is your Good man, I catch now, and then me beduma. Me yesu a make crowd am ko. What you not to nche ya? Eh den na ban se me printed textbooks. Number 1. Number 2, enkwara no ye nkyere wo ma de. Number 3, bibi ani ho. Eh de printed textbooks. Meanwhile, aban de get for na kosia wa enti yakoto 60 million Ghana cedis ye yakoto past questions. Ah, say a tikrum hey. Na me tia sa na what say Captain Smart akotoka. Ye na ye pu akohwa. 1992. Toyota Datsun 1992. Na Captain Smart akoto no de be say Ghana for me hwe so akotoka. Ebe yofe. Would you like it? Na yet your manya enkwada no edwene daache no. Yadin kwada ye mana sign wo machi akoto past questions tiri past questions na ye de abere ye man say munsua eno editum bia na mkofa ne fi America ba ye Mahama hey investigate editum. There should be a commission to invite editum. Me ana me de buy hey me body babra wo fay you appear before a commission to come and explain how the government was not able to print textbooks but rather had 60 million Ghana cedis to buy past questions. At cabinet, who proposed that and who agreed to that? They should invite Adujum. Next thing, Ayanapo or energy minister. Bahama kofa Mary he ukwa Kumasi a ukwa Central say Akufo-Addo abesi a substation me kan na kire mo Akufo-Addo oye kohwidi lapo oye kohwidi sama Mary na Mahama kofa fi UAE ba ye na ye ina ye ka home kwa bi se fa kan oketechi Afrifa ye fensen Paul Adomochiri ye didi Mahama tem se dum so aba wo be ya de papa do so kofa Mary aba Mahama kofa ba ye $5 million. Ehoka $5 million na free UAE ebeduru Ghana. Say ade na Mahama na oto na na ye say sabe onye nyansani no abaye Ghana japade. Ye tu ho kawi tie dia. Etiene se voter region kan ye duma no ase etam no bum ne de Kwesi voter region ya mom kan ya. Central region kan ye dum bum ne atam ko ya mom kan ya. Greater Accra dum bum ne atam aba. $5 million. Naponi Akufo-Addo eni kenoforiata Edi free takrade akokumasi a $41 million. No so dey law fair. What's over the $41 million? I a law fair. And you see, Mr. Producer, I'm sorry. Because I have to say something. My son I should catch him sometime as soon as I go. Me that say. Enter make-up. Now you're really at home, and people were saying, what? We MPP need what to fear. Bow down your goddamn maggot infested head in shame. When you are buying an would actually awesome. We any are buying, eh? Then I do crab bulletproof grano or Sikabe bomb jail won't you be Toby. Honorable, you say, apia ko bi bulletproof na Akufo-Addo na ohye entum grant obi you think we don't know me asembia ko wo okrum ha obekra me Watantra Hills anso wako apia ko bi also be gini bulletproof as Akufo-Addo akofie you think you see trippy uko Jubilee House on ubesu Why a Jubilee House to say a dilapidated market, Peter. Light we are since the whole seat of government. Cable way exposed. Why a Jubilee House to say the secondary school there and could I demonstration no must say no Ghana for this is how these people left Ghana for us. Me MPP ni chen. We ni ma me catch that one. Any past 7 ye the MPP ba power 2000. Who counter list na my number 3 my number 4 me 2004 ye de party this aba bio my number 3 my number 4 2016 ufa media ni na me number 1 am de Akufo-Addo be say akunyan so and then 2024 I am number 1 I am the odogu number 1 Mr Mahama be say akunyan so I'm telling you today who call Jubilee House we must say Jubilee House. Who call Jubilee House toilet no kura who call head seat the WC no kura call head the way a omu ja ho a who be say won sent na nipa na te ho ye adwuma and I say mwa na gu ho kwai the way my Jubilee House say esa aban sa ko besika foforo esa ko say Jubilee House na sa wo ware your ba ne tifie no ntimi mpra wo bedroom neba oja ne na gu pampers ma no wato ato mpase a so ba na eda ne tena but see kwa Jubilee House said on my Jubilee House the same thing and Ashanti regional minister sa akwa no me se me na di fufu menim kiosk na okomba sa ya be di fufu enye obi na eka into upon court me na ko di fufu sama no se mensa me na di fufu the kwa Urban Road to ho no wo fa efia kobi market wa wo ko anim kakra won sa right me na di fufu they are quite the for the Captain, I'm coming. No, I fuck you or back before Ben Bino. It's me shed and him taste. I have say, okay, who did you? I said, I've ever seen a day.
Okay. Yeah, no bibia hasibra form na fire de my. Na bibia so ntumi nkoyi emfa my. With me in the studios. The one and only on the trend is here. I say, Nyame obetu Akufo-Addo ka no. Okwa gym. Na ebia yebisa se Nyame wakwa gym aba na se odaso gym ho. Minia Ivan Innocent Che, social commentator and of course youth activist. Minia, Abishapa.
I think come to you.
I feel you share wow.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, I feel it there.
I feel you remember me just share. Bibia fine.
Nyame adom.
Na Nyame fi gym aba.
Oguso. So timi boma na bati akese.
Elo sa no so Akufo-Addo mu a. O
timi discipline ni for akwanade a waya no hia oboro ankasa. Eno agrofo na omo bubu stati o no say ye bu stati o ni tini to form no. Na oda ho esere eno obi say hwe na ahomaso ya bubu ni nyina na da
hey man
ya bubu wa obi na o san sere ka ho zon tefi
I was 24/7. And of course, hey, I've been good for. With me, the former DC for Central Front Place, and director in charge of special duties, Mami Famra Chimu, or no, and director Krakali Chise, Mumwami, Quantrafua, or no, Eye with a miss. Ewo Ashanti region, and the man the NDC. A friend of Fuseni Donko. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you the former chief. But you okay? Special duties the tree.
Ejuma Sronku bia.
And only a day ways and means bia.
Debi. Especially idea Sronku. Enti kwancha for penya no hwe nyuma party no eda Sronku ma omo.
Ebi ne de.
Ebi ne mpaibo ya kontre ohun.
Ah, I see.
Mr. for Baba hwe.
Mom there. Oh yeah, that mom. I was something some God.
Dickin.
Dickin. Aye. I never have at the class, sorry. And of course,
assemblies for the gentle.
Assemblies of God for
the nye basa so.
Mo nyame no eda so wo gym. O gym aba.
O ye dey aba dada.
Za.
On there. On sheda nye gidi.
Na wi amoko there.
Oh Yesu adom.
E do ba dey ase. And e be hwe nema mienu pre.
Yeah.
First regional ministerial appointment list Abba nominees are His Excellency Sasa Nado. Why ya Wanwaka Udia Kamanum? His Excellency John Dramani Mahama Ediaba were appointed, especially in Ashanti region. I know so we're interested and Eastern region, Emami and San Emema and Soon. And our Mudi Sisia, so mo and ever represented the various regions. Say, vet no more approve your more. Then we will look at the service passport, almost from then other matters. Yeah, here and then the other ministerial list, ebeba later this week. I'm told to say somewhere around Thursday, and you're more likely someone paying the so I release the list of other ministers and so Honomo. It's the my minister started free Ivan Hodomo na Ivan fire starting na fi and try and come so. Ivan.
Debbie.
John Dramani Mahama started in the Juma. I mean, there's been series of letters. And we saw Koboko to making sure that there is peace and sanity within Boko. Right. And he did also emphasize to say during his time as the president, now Boko is very calm. Yeah. But when he kobaye and akoko do be adri. But the best conform more Boko say omoma pepepe there sundwe enfambra. Yes, that's free honum na yehu ne.
Yeah, be the dika I mention what here for na me obi official pa. I just realized official this is our first time. And surprisingly instead of Tuesday we are here Wednesday.
Yes.
Remember how Wednesday that.
Oh,
so
okay.
From next week going it will be Tuesday. So
I see.
I think
why your timetable?
Yes, my reshuffle. I think John Mahama 2.0. That is what I'll call it because the first one number single. So Donald Trump 2.0, but shall say at the chair, John Mahama 2.0, I shall say. And I will say, says, I will hear said there was your shall say now. I think that's so far so good. What in China, I'm not sure, so you may have any much concerns to say about what has happened within this space of 2 weeks, what taking over as president. And I like the directness. The swiftness, the boldness in kind of us or yet the Nema. You see, you could see that this is somebody or clarity of thought about what he's doing. Yeah. There is no ambiguity about decisions I will make. For instance, he made your friend say commitment to Ghanaians about say about cutting down the size of government. Yeah, that's sorry. Yeah, there is a letter to that particular regard that what downsizing the ministry from 30 to 23. 23, yeah. And I've seen a lot of people with different debates say and cutting costs and as I say, let us not mislead people because whichever way you see it, cutting down ministry, will save cost. You and I enemy what comes along. Abra appointed a minister, a whole lot of budget and as a forum. And I don't know the day, a sign a symbolic relevance so far as the Ghanaian people are concerned. Because platform where how many times Nayan Tenasing can say we need to cut down the size of government. Because it is not about the last size of government, it's about efficiency. Akufo-Addo told us, say, Adjumani Dawson, he needed a large crowd to be able to execute that particular thing. At the end of the day, or setting up the biggest size of government in the history of this country. And his government ended up to be the worst government in the history of this country. So it is about efficiency. So I think that particular boldness and we walk it through to that particular commitment, we cut it down the size of government and 23 ministry, because there are some of the ministries we combine and one thing I like has to do with the youth empowerment and because over the years it's a large area. So
sports and recreation,
and then the youth now Kasano development and empowerment, you know. I think that give us the opportunity to be able to train young people for the future, because there be a better young people future leaders. Makacho say we lose and now there can be no tomorrow. So building tomorrow no means that you need to build the youth as well. Say by your meeting take it a particular child. So government will be place emphasis on young people and be much concerned about their development. You know, a child say you are really setting the stage for that particular future. So I think that is good. And then several other directives are one adeba Santana platform we saw several times has to do with elections. Killings I call so I was a 8 years ago and then none that they see
I think was none the for 6.
Yes, I'm on for now just a what say in a civilized democratic dispensation like ours, we go into an election now your boni patu people who did the killing were captured on video. The president could not cause an investigative body to be constituted. Even at the preliminary stage, you require establishing certain merit to be about the case. Now you know what to do. He didn't do a thing about it. So President Awaba, a few days after, what we need that particular commitment, now I catch IGP where I disagree. And then say Yama IGP that particular investigation. For that one I disagree. Because I'm not sure that the police are competent enough to take that particular child, because the video that we watched in Techima, you know, most of the killings were done by the police. So if you ask you to go and investigate yourself, I don't know. The president might have his own thought, but me, I disagree with asking the IGP to lead that particular investigation. I think maybe a public inquiry or some kind of an investigative committee be able to, including the police, to come together with information and as form. But all that being said, no, I think it's a move in the right direction. I know the day, a resolve major concerns and we're going to the elections, because Ghana no any banana republic. We can't go into an election. The president will come and say, but the election was peaceful, but for few regrettable deaths. Now, will you have that particular audacity to stand on TV and say few regrettable deaths? So I think that particular move is appropriate. And then the service passport, you see, I like the directness, the authority in the tone. I communicating as someone owning the oil, because one major concern Kromo has to the abuse of this diplomatic privileges over the years. People who don't even work outside, they hold it. And the reason why I all call it has to do with this abuse, because there are people within in the past administration, whichever way you see it, they will still need the service passport. And I say, we hear those diplomatic pass and then as a forum. But he's asking, say, everybody should surrender. Now, we go through the processes to authenticate. As to whether say they went through the process now and son or more here or more hold you or more dear no, it will revert back to you. You understand? So it is not overall say Obian family, I do be free or dear Afro Biansam. So that is the process. And I think they're going forward, it will also set the stage, say processes like this, and this a year abuse. Now you come, now you who say it was abuse. I think that there should be punitive consequences. You better met it up to individuals are going forward, such occurrences, So JB, now I catch us baby I've seen a lot of people jubilating, and as for me, I don't see jubilation. I see say this is the time for us to set the stage for the new Ghana now. You're looking forward, because over the years I heard the Ghana come the state of this particular economy, and let's all go to the energy sector and you catch us as fuel now, and as a gas now, air running away a machine, a sun. We just have 8 hours stock. Show how scary the situation is and how bad the previous managers leave this particular country in. So actually say you have a Herculean task ahead of us as Ghanaians, and going forward, we all need to come together as people and see how support on the government in Yanko rogue. We are all part of it. We need to support the government to ensure say Ghana deserve no betimi aye amaya position of mine na Ghana betimi take care of niema ehia Ghana for because I will kwanya Ghana for fast so moto about this particular year and they nigie na hokeka na wa manfo mu na me free say they want your friends say Ghana to be better. And they want to be part of that particular story. We want the political narrative in this country to change, and people want to be part of it. That is why I'm telling you, say, going forward, governance should be seen as a public enterprise. Everybody has a vested interest in it, whether the person voted for you or not, whether the person is in the NDC or not, whether the person is part of government or not. Everybody has a vested interest in this politics that we're doing. So when you don't go and sit there and say, me party abamena yama me to me so I can do the hell what I want. No, you can't, because adia atu okufuado ne state okura esiwo a yatunu Ghana for amanensi wo no. So we anigi a yebubu state onu so interviews are course. So you see the celebration within people. People were really angry because at the time people were hungry. Yade embago atoto amanfo sika so. People who did investment omodi omusika borrow government kwanya ya fa so a yede yen satoto sa sika no so because kendo foreta bi kotenanse se ode oman ne bebo nkwase abosen ama niamaje niamansam. And because of that, you saw the celebration and the jubilation. So it's a message to Obia say it's not going to be business as usual. I can't just say politics going forward in this country. No, it is not business as usual. And I'm very sure the president-elect is very aware. President Mahama is the reason why all go about things the way that he's doing. And I think that as long as he goes about this way, we will achieve whatever that we want to achieve. Because in terms of efficiency, cutting down the size of government, and I'm sure that not just the size of government, there are several avenues. Nema bebiri oha, as a year realign, na year reshuffle, nema bebiri sebe ya. You bet me put your home on the road. Ghana bet me I get into economic recovery because as we speak, so here. Ghana economy says here be anam says JB e ka e me yen and the scary aspect of it is say I am for kan ho asem say 2026 we ya ye be chance ya betu e ka akufo adrum pia kwa animu no na bisa won say sika na ekofa na ohefa o tinsem na make no and John Mahama ko 2012 no obo modern bofo to ho na sika gugum bebre. Can we say the same thing today? Say there are funds that are available. They all no cry na ya sini nyina dia sisi akamaja no akọ. So e kire say adwuma na e da yanim no eso. So what we nya akwanya na oba ban numa, you should know say you are working for the people of Ghana. Ghanaians are watching you from afar and you need to do the right thing because akufo na Ghana for time. There was a time somebody called me and they say aban na more time. Aban na say we name the worker. Why will anybody hate a government and a president? Because after all, as a president, your papa, you'll be happy to have him as your president. But Makasa is not always about being president. It is about being president with responsibility. You understand? Unya Kenya na adia wode ye fa bobra papa. Na ye to aba man wan fa mobra papa no you decide say me na me wo to me the buy there me pa. This is what will happen to you. So obi antan aban but because of abrabobone a oji o mind na hantan ne sa kasa yan kan kire nipa no mo de ye and the man Ghana for a go the standard they went because 2016 Akufo-Addo was a darling boy for Ghanaians. Na Ghana for eso no so don't forget to say na emma at Jessica okwaboso kan yomotom your first purpose. Yes. So that Akufo-Addo na Ghana for a hold in high esteem no suddenly ban say na near san ya I don't know be empene di mahwe e ya braba unya tumi no the boy. So it can happen to anybody at any point in time. And to unya tumi a me say whatever that has happened to Akufo-Addo no everybody should take a cue from it. Say wo bo wa bra na say wo toto niema na wan toto ni ye na wo break it all from the trust and nipa dia ma wa no the day no jebi. And I think that the promises that has been made, we are heading there for it. The major one has to do with the constitutional re-engineering that we need to do because I believe, sir, in your constitution, several portions of it outlive the essence and the usefulness relative to where we are today, and that there is the need for us to update this document because the constitution is supposed to be a living document, reflecting the daily aspirations of the people. I know that if it is not aligned, it means you need to go back and do a lot of engineering about it. And I think we need to change essential portions of our constitution, align it with the modern needs and the demands of young people. Article where 71 holders as Sama Yakan Okruma, President Mahama made a promise to do some changes in as a forum. All these things are near as a government in open to, because I am not expecting to see any massive economic transformation within these 4 years. But what we can do is we can lay a solid foundation in terms of law, our constitution, in terms of institution, in terms of personnel, in terms of structure, and so forth. When we lay this solid foundation, trust me, we can build Ghana from there. Because say I am building this foundation, I am making sure that institutions become very robust, institutions become very effective. Now individuals in power can easily wake up a day and say, "Men are me 2 minutes, I can just whip institutions in line," just like we saw under President Akufo-Addo when the Auditor General and other people were mishandled and at the end of the day booted out using state institutions like the Supreme Court and then as a former. We will not get anywhere. So the most important thing is JB, we need to sanitize state institutions and make them effective and make sure that we are able to engender trust. How many people even have trust in our court today? Because it's the same court ya na edi Domelevo adi o me make sure say ye bedi na sem aka say only for no now we pass the age of retirement and then say all these are your friends saying deliberate machinations these people employ just to ensure that the government will get it way in as a forum. So going forward, these are near bottlenecks Emma young kwayanim Ghana for looking forward say the new government will take the bull by the horn and make sure say we sanitize all these state institutions. Ghana for being trust them. There are people calling for the heads of Amanfo Moya and so there are constitutional processes and as for constitutional frameworks were very wise because they knew say a time will come we may have individuals Amonya ready to occupy sensitive positions. That was why they created that particular window. So the constitutional window that has been created, can equally be activated to get whoever we want to get out. Because at the end of the day, the most important thing I am a government be a general as I see so and your soldier for the police for and how many people are by more. It is about the trust and the confidence public a repose in that government, and you cannot afford to lose it because the very moment a government loses the trust and the commitment of the people, that government is done. So at the end of the Akufo-Addo now all free still he was in control because going to that particular elections, now it was Ghana against Akufo-Addo and Nabang.
I see.
Because people were fed up, and I'm sure if you're able to do some of these things, now you straighten the path for Ghana for being trust and the confidence our democracy in being because now Ibrahim Traore ba inauguration center now now I was going through a lot of your friends reviews. So what has happened when the gentleman took the stage? Look at the jubilation.
Yeah, sure.
But this is a military junta. But why would people in a democratic country celebrate somebody or a cool leader? Because people are gradually getting fed up with the way a man you go about your democracy. I have argued that to me, democracy is the best. Unless it's any other option to prove otherwise. But to me, democracy is the best. But because we are not practicing it well, like I say, democracy, we have imposters fronting democratic rule. They are just running it like a Ponzi scheme.
Imposters?
Oh, yes. Because no adopted the convenient aspect of democracy and are implemented. But where institutions and say yeah, you want to hold people accountable. That part and they are talking and a man for GDA democracy so fast. And see this time round, we need to go full flare. Now implementing the full aspect of democracy. Sabaya Ghana ni benya GDA wom say cool crowd will be because cool na man for pre home. I can't just soldier for you who are more and they you come babaji. Now moti hono crowd and near who is saying soldier for babaji. Soldier for now win him that no muyakuno and yet and then most of them have no morals, they have no principle, they have no values. Those things now in the past they trained soldier for any hobby. So just imagine these people coming to take over the country. You can imagine same extension of politics and they come military men there. But yet mean to talk near man no asset. So we need to ensure say running your mind running to inspire trust, confidence. Every man for bit me follow democracy and I'm sure say Ghana will do well.
All right, now as the best about how the 10 ministerial nominees are Presidents John Dramani Mahama. But say the medical care no me Fuseni Donko our had was a former DC Edema Sexual Front Place or Sanso the director in charge of special duties in Ashanti region. Chief Akwababi.
Yeah.
Once a chief is always a chief. I share you am a friend chief. If you hear somebody abu bossy na fe.
Maminchia ohwefo tichuni minian momo asantimemo. Na me krom for drobon so for mama nchia omo. O ka se char from plains no am fa drobon so na anka ho na se de. Wa mama nka. Wa sack up man wa nwem.
Wa mama nka wi na po be say wa mama nka wi.
Yeah, JB, listening to Ivan, I was so silently listening to him because almost they actually display and communicate the mood out there.
Yeah.
And I think that is one thing, not to sound boastful, I believe our brothers in the other side missed it at the point. They missed the mood of the country, they missed the feelings of the people. And that is what we saw in the elections. Now, election we know, JB, yes, as then you because Eradina na ye na idea. But then you also realize Ghanaians voted with a certain message. Otumfo can be in 2016 when we lost. Now do we near call no catch and say Ghana for the come near Bufu. And a tuaba no be say omonko kanche Yaw Jnr. So if 2016 the conditions at that time was a company bufua, then imagine 2017 the omodeko tuaba it was a bufu and nibre. So those were the three factors I call about to him, and they voted in a way say Yaw Jnr. Mani Mahama ye de o man na hye wonsa ye mpanchirichiri mu bia ye de chese wo ye bia. That was the message in this election because the two-thirds majority was like, we don't want any excuses. And the MPP for Mami Kwan or Parliament they don't want it. Nanado after 2020 election, Ghanaians saw he was failing, so they decided to checkmate him by giving him Parliament a check, And Amika said, our brothers missed the mood. Because in 2020, Ghanaians told him, no, you are not performing. That was why they gave him Parliament a check, And but for that Parliament, things would have been worse. And this time around, look at what they did. They just decided it was like an independence. It was like a referendum. And Amika said, so I couldn't help but pay attention to my brother because that was it. And glory be to God, say, Yaw Jnr. Mani Mahama buy and so no. It's like he's responding to the mood and the sentiments of the country. What did I say? Because one, some of us decided to lay down our lives for this campaign because I kept saying, say, he was the most experienced hands we have to salvage the situation we were in. Because Obinanka Edu say ya afena Obefra Attorney General okay to withdraw the passport. What are the legal adi we ya be short by 8 hours DNA be ye one kra ne betimi aboy. But with the experience, he takes decisions based on experience, and he knows what some of them means already. It's, look at the steps. The most vital decision-making ministries are no here. And they can appoint, finance, attorney general, energy, because energy was the critical crisis. It makes me grounded the economy to a halt, and he needed an attorney general to give advice or quick. Your friend said agreements to be reached because you compare quick LNG bakrana. He needed an attorney general to quickly give legal advice, and then the almighty finance minister was also needed for approvals and do all those things. So yes, that was a master stroke. Then again, Microphobia quickly now appointment quickly he dissolves all the boards. Yes, so dissolve boards. So it stops all those things.
The only person we appointing and I say we appointing the minerals commission.
No, the minerals and is MIF.
Yes,
minerals and investments fund.
Yes, fund.
Yeah,
sure,
that's the first appointment that has. But she's also acting.
So now head of ECOWAS.
Yes, she's acting.
Head of EcoBank. Yeah.
And then the recall of the passports. That is where another abuse can also happen.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, because there are some countries bilateral agreements now. Countries like Germany, China. When you are going with service and diplomatic passports, you don't need visa.
Okay.
So there are some countries ukutasa service and diplomatic passports now, they can easily just go in. And people with those passports are given some amount of
special treatment.
Yeah, immunities and all those things at some countries. And you don't know what's because will be okuta diplomatic passport do baby. It is something that has been done against the states. Ubi okuta service and diplomatic passport or Baukrum, they give critical care because bibiye nipana odionsaka or minor ufrim no directly you have attacked the government of the state.
Yeah.
And then nipano si take decision biana. It is assumed that he's taking a decision on behalf of the government.
Sure, that's true.
So when you know, yes, there is a new government. Obi okura diplomatic passport in any country Ghana now from Ghana now. It take a decision to be assumed to say President Mahama Amana Kwame take his decision.
That's true.
Omo man courtesies they will be giving that courtesies because they feel say John Mahama abemu nipa. So you need to quickly recall them. Say we were all surrendered our own after 2016. So it is a normal practice.
Oh, okay.
Another beautiful thing was the visit to Boko.
Yes.
It was a pledge said he will make sure there is peace at Boko. And I believe said this is the time Boko so will give peace a chance. You see, Oba, and I believe said that is what Excellency is doing.
Regional Minister designates. Ladies and gentlemen, the report should be ready. He's prepared.
Yeah, sure.
And where enjoined. And
as a member of parliament, Accra had Shao Sudoku. Yes, Shao Sudoku.
That was my friend's, my late friend's wife.
Oh, okay.
The parliamentary candidate who died. William Okulu. Yeah.
Anyway, the Greater Accra Minister designates Linda Okulu. Congratulations to you, madam. And of course, Charity Gardner Ahafo, Regional Minister designates. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the list. Edina Abano 10 for now. Aka 6 more regions.
Bono East.
Aka Bono East, Western Central North. Region, Western Region, and Western North.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Northeast.
And Northeast, yes, sure.
I think so far so good. Individuals here, one one competence or the other to offer. Yeah. And at this point in time, I'm not sure I can have much to say because I am not somebody. I don't celebrate appointment. I celebrate what you do with the power and the amount. So I just hope they will do right thing. Because my catcher say Ghana be move
absolutely,
and it is a collective effort. You need to enlist the support, the might, everything of people around you, just to ensure that we build a country. We are building a nation we want, not a nation you building for be. So that is where you enjoyed, and I like the swiftness. President at the acting, because I don't remember the first time I had to about my president within this short period that such names flow all over, because very often take months away, but the swiftness with which all corner say how ready he is.
No, but even with
cutting, yeah.
Ministers no it's within 14 days.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean he's in line.
So I think he's ready, he's prepared.
Yeah, sure.
And what tier course are Ghana for them, because my catcher said to me not Ghana for them, and I this wow. That is why when you have a go on your knees and pray for the president, because and yeah, you market And like he rightly said, you cannot afford to fail.
Yeah.
What I say, and that is why you see some of these decisive decisions coming up. For instance, I saw a letter go through to Land Commission. Telling them say they should halt processing, sale, and everything. And in recent times, every single land a whole report should be submitted to the president within 14 days. These are some of the major concerns that Ghanaians were raising among us. So for him to issue that directive, I should say, what pinpointing out who had the interest of Ghanaians.
Not to cut you short, but a young uncle say a buying sasia year from a young crime. Come to Kumasi, go to Tamale, go to Ho. Go to just say it was all across the 16 regions.
Oko Kumasi Ashanti. I'll tell you
police commander tini dem ni akobo kokoko Mr. Kope edem be rent one ya ton assassin. Ampani ye bubu. ACC apartments.
Now, say recently, I think
doctors at
yes, Confanoche,
Ghana Medical Association, the regional president in Omuko Tunifi.
Yes, so that is how our situation is here. So I think a very, very appropriate president all go through these particular lines just to ensure some of these processes, then investigations will follow. Then you can understand why people are resisting and fighting this oral setup. Yeah. The committee are president set it in place to ensure that they receive report. Now, when you're marking parliament, you see, let me say, politics, governance, leadership going forward, it's not business as usual. Yeah. You see, in the past, cotton appointment committee, you can engage and dabble in those trivialities and get away. But at this point, Ghanaians are wide awake, maybe they don't even realize it. Afenyo Markin, I'm not sure say he has even accepted say MPP co-election, and they've been rejected overwhelmingly, and that they should be sitting somewhere. The posture, the attitude of the committee name questions are more or less like he's just dragging the whole thing as if say I don't know whether he want to make a show for him to be seen. He should know his place. Yeah. Say time I had them more. They showed arrogance and as for Ghana for have rejected them. He should just shut up and let the process flow. You understand? Because you see, I can't be watching TV and be exposed to some of the trivialities back and forth as if I'm growing a yedi. No, at this point, I say governance and your business as usual. Because minority leader no deserve to be minority leader and say be the man not transfer parliament because he's a micro mini leader. Now you don't have the numbers.
Micro mini leader.
Now, can he call himself a minority bank?
Oh, they are the minority.
No. MPP is going to parliament as an observatory party. I'm telling you, so Afenyo Markins and the cameraman in our parliament, the difference here, they are observing the process. Yes, they are observing the process. No. They are observing the process because I know the majority will have their way in any way. You understand?
No, so the fact is, yes, though NDC now and the independent candidates now be kind of forms to test of the.
I understand. I understand. They are
majority. In every decision making, they may not need the input.
Exactly.
They may. But then, because of constitutional issues,
I know.
And the beauty of democracy,
I'm not saying you will not be listened to. The constitution enjoins them to make contributions, input, and whatever. Absolutely, but at the end of the day, I don't know what happens. That is the point I'm making. That makes you an observatory party.
Yeah, because of the number of ministers are available soon, there will be more members of parliament present at every point in time.
So that makes you an observatory party. That is what I'm saying. You see, I am saying this for him to take your friends a pail of remorse.
Can you be?
Me can't same way. They should review what has happened in the last 8 years. Assembly say, Omatna Sababa Braboniama party no bubu to the point say 2/3 of parliament and the NDC kura, they don't even qualify to call themselves minority leader. That is what I'm saying. On go into elections, was it not the same guy who was saying, say, minority chair non transfer because spiritually it wasn't good for him, and that he's not even fit to sit on the minority chair. That is what arrogance does to people. That is the message I'm sending. And I think, say, going forward, you see because what has happened to them, I'm expecting, say, you take the cheers pill. Now what can I say? I review who say so we need to, because politics is a process, it's a learning process. Keeps in as a form, but at any point in time, you should be prepared to learn. But the conduct and the attitude order and dinner doesn't show say will be a sabi. We'll go through such a phase, and there is the need for him to pause and then we move on. I think that Ghana for you very serious. That's what I'm saying. That when they're watching TV and you listen to some of the things that they are doing on the panel, it gets you pissed off. And I'm sure that we are not ready for those things. The processes should just flow. Say, to me, now what Ghanaians has to be done, because that is the most important thing today. Because over the last 8 years, we've been on radio, we've been on TV, we've been here talking about a minor titia pansabo, governance in your leadership in your. So are we going to drag ourselves in the same arena and always be saying, say, NDC MPP? No. We need to move forward. That is the wire. Ghana for coming together, voted in this particular way. And like he said, the overwhelming majority given to the NDC is an indicative of the fact that Ghanaians want us to move forward. They want to give the president overwhelming power to do whatever that he want to do, just to ensure that we straighten things up. Because we are talking about a country, debt only to external creditors. You find internal creditors here, all statutory funds in the CCA your mortgage, your friends are ESLA. It's come ya Jabosia. Get fund, ya the SICAM. So at the baby I can be or mine yaka and I'm over 800 billion and over. At the some yaka. The stakes no ain't no good. JB more William Fisher. Your friends are rating agencies, amongst society credit scores, because I'm not S&P, Moody's, and Fitch. Or we now downgrade here to junk status. As we speak, currently, we cannot get out there to go and borrow. That is the state of your men. So I think that we need to get things straightened up. Not and politics, trivialities, those things. We need to drop it and get serious. Now, who said? The seriousness that Ghanaian shows at the poll, that is the way I want the governance to go. So you don't go and sit there and be behaving as if things are.
Me only challenge with some posturing of the minority, had to do with the personalization of some of the issues. If you are taking him on the economy, everybody understands you. But now who can wait here? I buying it. Yes, you anyway.
So I
don't think we have the patience for that.
That is what summarizes whatever that I'm saying. Made the posture, the posturing, whatever that they are doing. It's not just about the message. It should be
about the forward movement of the nation.
People,
what will you do different?
You don't need to lose focus.
Yeah.
The mood Ghana for women is here. The urgency with which they want things to flow. The seriousness that has been infused into our politics. And Ghana for don't want to be exposed to those trivialities. NDC MPP, those petty politics. We are friends, we've met here, and then we can just joke around. That era is long gone. We need to show that seriousness now. We are moving to a new phase. And that new phase, is a clarion call. I want the president and even the minority. You move in a good direction, project our mind to a level that we all want. But we cannot be dabbling in this kind of sentimental politics and emotional politics where when the pertinent issues are still lying flat. We need to move on because my culture says that is what Ghanaians want. Says here we need to structure and make sure that the economy come afloat. Things are not really working for us, and I think job opportunities in those things in our president promising, how do we make sure that we get them so that people will get a job to do? These are some of the things that preoccupy your attention, because we cannot live in a country where young people over the years, every year will be moving to Middle East. They are selling themselves into modern day slavery.
We are losing our nurses.
Yes, people are going. Go to UK, go to US. Everybody is leaving because there
not just nurses.
There is hopelessness.
That is the most dangerous part.
Jebi, there is hopelessness here. There is no future for you. So why what can we do to turn the tables around? Sabi Amanfobo who said there is a hope in our homeland because on mind you need a young, energetic workforce to build the country. But if everybody is losing, we need to make sure that they stay. You understand? These young people need to stay in this country. We harness their energy, their potential, and everything because I take it for granted. JB. The friend said creativity, creative power. Our young people move and then they don't want to work for anybody. A boss on their own. That is the new era. So as government, just to ensure say. You bet me tap into this talent for the growth of our country. That is what that we need to do. And I think the focus should be there. That politics in the trouble. Somebody should tell him that politics in the trouble. We are moving on. Ghanaians are really serious, and we want to get to a destination where the Ghanaian dream will be possible, where a Ghanaian will not be having just hopes and dreams. We want real economic independence, where the average Ghanaian will become a critical and a rational thinker. Because if you don't have economic independence, you can never be rational in your thinking. You can never be independent because always. To express your opinion about matter, you need to listen to what your boss has said before you. And some watching while then yes, I will deliberate bubble. What I say, we need to build that society, an open-minded society where people will have that course of way to do whatever that they want to do. And I think that is what we want to achieve now.
All right, so that is the way to go. Ivan, I say, you pass the job in Fantina. After your markets now, cameraman or parliament difference.
Oh, after your market can speak in parliament, cameraman cannot speak.
They are observing the process. What is the end? You are just wasting your time. As a cameraman, sometimes they give commentary. Cameraman, they give commentary. Bravo, boy. Sometimes they give commentary.
They can't speak on the floor.
They can't speak on the floor. All right. I'm saying, Doko. Yeah, wrap you up on this.
Yeah, I think my ebium, my mensambo, minion momo Ashanti region, especially my executives, all the entire executives.
But it's one of the appointments. John Dramani Mahama Echinyebia Maho.
Yeah.
Ubian Kasaho. From chief of staff, nobody has said anything.
Yeah.
From executive secretary, nobody has said anything. The three ministers or Odika appointed more Ato forcing. Samson, is it Ladi? Samson Ayenini. And the other one.
Dr. Dominic.
Dr. Dominic, yes. And all of them. Ubianka Hoshe, Kasabia Shedama.
No, I think the AG choice is one of the perfect listening because I wouldn't Dr. Ayenina on petty partisan politics. So or pick up issues now or can win the can. So I think he's one of the best.
You have forgotten even the security task force as well.
Serious. The lives of Kofi Boache, Prosper Bainine, Squad
Major Blake.
So JBS is good.
So that is where experience comes in.
Yeah.
Once they be no position, I can say, yes, I have the experience. I can get it done quicker than me and obey experiment. Now Ghanaians are vindicated. And I believe, sir, not to sound boastful, meaning, sir, your man penny John Mahama peso or soon in Yamini Ghana. Your peso, now
are you available? Are you available, my John Mahama?
Everywhere.
I see.
Some media jamia suma for. Baby, your best suma me be a man 9 women so way dear. Baby, I'm a
no, because during your time as DC, Edward Roberts, he served so well.
No, we live to serve. Yeah, me sabi baby, I'm free now. That is our treat.
Yeah.
I'm a kunkumba and then an ewe. And we are born to serve.
Yeah.
So when Timmy and Bon Kofi na they can say obesom.
We serve.
If you who are konkoma for no, and police, military, because we always want to be serving.
Yeah.
That is our nature.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
And JB,
I will not be surprised. Obenya deputy ministry appointments. If not the mainstream ministry, deputy ministry appointments.
Prophet JB, amen.
So make out
I wish him well.
possibly at the local government.
Hey, Upijamina continue JB,
I think the most important thing has to do with Nipo Monya Akwenya Yabodin.
Yeah.
I think out of the lot you've been selected and chosen.
I mean,
it's a privilege, our president, the amount.
Yeah.
It is now your duty to excel and make sure you deliver.
That is where some of my colleagues unfortunately guess it wrong. It's a call to duty, like you said.
Yes.
It is not for you to excel so much, but it is for you to project the image of the president, because you don't have anything to prove there. You have everything to prove for the president there. Say John Mahama ba odo ba hono odibim. Because me unkwaje fans ma ho. At the end of the day, John Mahama managed this ministry well, because when there is a fall, they go back. Dum so bad than any Dr. Kwabra
Donkodi, yeah.
What you say? But or fix it, you see, John Dramani Mahama fix it, dum so. Nanado failed because all his ministers were trying to be ministers on their own. So and he lost control over them.
I understand, but I think that to me now, your core responsibility to serve the people of this country.
Yes, God.
And
people,
out of that, that is why I say you need to excel in that particular regard.
Yes.
Then out the impact, and I say the Ghana for back, the credit will go to the president who appointed you.
That is it.
So very often, my culture say, "What did to me my black man? I get it on a arrogance." When you are in a position, everybody is wise.
NDC first time, Mahama first time, the ministers we saw some of them.
Yes. Because whenever you are in the position, trust me, we are seeing wisdom in our team. But whenever you come to power, some circumstances, all of a sudden, power has a way of sucking even common sense from the head of our people. I wish that it doesn't happen this time around.
8 years, University of Opposition, 8 years there.
Yes, so that is why I'm sending this message. That is why I'm sending this message. We should not get there. You understand? Because arrogance, they get people off.
No, we can't afford. There is a serious verdict against arrogance now. So you can't.
You could see that there is a price to pay for being arrogant. You understand? And to me, that is the slightest thing in. So it's just a caution. So people will not fall into that particular trap, because it's one thing Ghanaians can never and will never forgive. What I say. So even how to communicate, how to speak, those things, you need to be very mindful and able to manage the relationship between power and the people. Because I can't just say the relationship that might exist between power and the people must be that of intellectual kinship and mutual respect. No pity. So if you're able to go on that particular line, trust me, things will move smoothly. Nobody is a naysayer. Nobody is anti-government. Saboteur and want the government to fall. We all want the government to succeed. And these are some of the things that we need to do. Because my culture says, Nipa de Senibia is very dangerous. So we what I say. That's why always, there must be certain structures and systems in place just to make sure that we checkmate whoever that is there. But we wake up a day and realize that things are you have messed things up.
Chief, now finally
So finally, what I was saying is yes, a radiadum. The idea be yes, free Ghana for nyina on say Yempire na abakoso ase Nyankopon koso ama ye mampani apomuden ya modin ni asumdwe, the peace of mind.
Oh, now
the Ghana agenda.
No, because I feel
they didn't be oh.
Omo ye dede. Omo yanti omo kasa omo ye dede. Na no. Satam we omo ye dede be stop omo one time.
Nyame muaye. Na nyame nto ni supanku amamu isu na niema ntimi nsama Ghana for na Ghana for nkasa ampa. There are difference. Yes. There is a difference between MPP and NDC, because you see, the lamping up is the most painful part, because during the campaign that was the most difficult one, especially the middle class and the floating voters. And that is what we need to deal with right now.
All right, Mami, now I say you're a fussy don't na menda minia Ivan so I say, but before Sebe call Mami wish Emirate It's coming from your mom. A very special happy birthday. Emirad, we efru omame ene opapa ena uniyamba numina almost say ene ewa woda. So very special happy birthday to you. Is that Emirad? We Abdul Majid, right? Okay, Abdul Majid of Akosombo International School. May a new chapter of your life unfold with joy and endless opportunity. Congratulations to you on your 18th birthday. From mom and dad, Jacopo Inshraw. Sasso and Emrad. Emrad, happy birthday to you, Emrad. Jacopo Inshraw from your mom and dad. They say happy birthday to you. And Godwin, the last one, Mr.
Auditor General special report into the purchase of ex-United Kingdom Ministry of Defence Bedford and Land Rover trucks, no, and a mackerel in pepper sauce and tuna solid in pure vegetable oil, no. Ministry of Defence, dear, no, and then so a bebas to me after. Commandment number 1. Mamin Kanye, and our Kanye.
10 Commandments for the Elected and Temporary Leadership of My Motherland, Ghana, by KKD.
Okay.
A proud but worried son of Ghana.
All right.
Be truthful.
And I don't know.
Lies run sprints, but truth runs marathons. One lie told needs many more lies to cover it up. One lie told corrupts many young and naive, as well as old and truckling followers, to be unleashed by their paymasters, to go and lie too, to cover up or forcefully mess things up. Be it in your promises, achievements, explanations, or excuses. Respect the people. Help the people. Just be truthful.
That's it. Ofa chechim.
Sabi.
We are now with Jama.
Omine ebeye ya. Kane enye nimdeɛ. Kane enye nyansa. Kane enye ahoɔden. Kane ɔman ne bɛyɛ yi a. Momma wɔn mu ayeyi wɔn mu sɛ asoafoɔ no. Yasoafoɔ titiriw a wɔyɛ man mu no. Sɛbe eni ha wonti yɛtwa ne tiawa. Yɛsɛ ɛyɛ ɔman asoafoɔ panyin. Ba yɛtwa ne tiawa yɛayɛ no ɔman panyin. So or your mind as swafo penny. Ya swafo if it true about bofra. Munyinara munni no cre. Say ye bobby na mo share ye. Say assembi na kind man tini na mo be chiremu. Say mo swan akwabi manabe kasama mo. Ana mo swa chiami bi ananoa wo no sa wo nyansa wo nimde ebe kasama wo no. Ni amo kenyinara no. Say enya no kra eye nwura. Mama yendi no kre eno ne ye toso baako ne toso mienu. Be selfless. Manya pese minkuminya hu se wo bai se wo yeyi wo sa soafo no wo bai se wo besom enti sofo a oye selfless no ono na otumi nya no wo bebre na sorry mebre na emom anya sofo asem ne ye ka ho aswafo asem ne yeka esanya ye ne etua asofo ka ebia na ne mission etua na ka emom se asori ma na etua na ka de ane ono so ka ho bi na emom wa ye yi waswafo no. Be selfless. It is so adorable and honorable. It is easy for any greedy, dishonest, malicious, or cowardly person to be selfish. It takes the honest, compassionate, thoughtful and courageous to be selfless. Selflessness is a great mark of a true leader. Woman servant leader. Be the leader the people chose you to be. Be selfless. Menya peseminkuminya. Prema edom. Mem prema wonkwani obisuafo ne wayonkofo. Enti se yedi nukure wi an ye toso mienu. Ma yenye peseminkuminya. Na ne etoso miensa no kai se ejapade biare ni wiase a esen asase montie biom ejapade biare ni wiase a esen asase ejapade dodo nara no efi asase mu na me masase a megidie ni asase a wo makoma mu asase a wo makoma mu no me de nukuredie ahyem ene meyi pesa menkuminya efrim enti wo bisa won ene menam no maka che say hey da che nyine de e che na de ape wo a wo ban ni bia no enye bi obi anim sa na ne etoso miansa na me say safeguard the land of our birth and all the natural resources above, beneath, and around it. Safeguard the land of our birth and all the natural resources above, beneath, and around it. Lead our people in all 6 major ethnic groups, the Akan, the Ewe, the Ga Adangbe, the Mole Dagbani, the Guan, and the Gurma, to safeguard it for generations yet unborn. Farm our land for nourishment and remedies. Mine it lawfully and sustainably for wealth. Develop it for our habitat, security, and sustenance. And curate it for natural beauty and shade, culture, and tourism. Any human or entity, native or foreign, who plans to or does otherwise is a sworn enemy of our homeland Ghana and must face the fierce redress of our land's traditional custodians, the chiefs, and then the full rigor of our laws and statutes. Yenara yasasini eyobo dendeng mayen mojana na num shegu edigu omaye akame ne wonsoso say ye bia toaso enti den ye ya toaso
ebokro no
yasasini ye dia. Now, because it safeguard our land and lead the people to safeguard our land, me name the 6 major ethnic groups. Me say me aka menkwa. Anka Ghana anka any 16 regions. Anka was 6 regions. 6 regions based on the major ethnic groups. Kwame Nkrumah di ni nyansa ni nimdia ye bibi manaka. Boarding school ye ko ye nti no. Ebi fi Accra, eko Navrongo.
Sure.
Ebi fi Tamale eko ho. Etia no kan ye bom e man no nso achi no. Ya ware ye ho. I said, you have a share in secondary school, no? One in Ankeka, Ubishian University, one in Bekeka. The Ashan Umranti Bremo, I did more dino, on one at Dachibi, Abia, one in Bobra. Entino, say ye to me, share yen sa, so, say young so my aya, na young chem from my hawk wardia. Near Bebani say, in so I yen no mono. Minimusa what then chambo was sass yasino. Want to me ma a common ni ekroma wabra denchembo e wa asase nase na emum okwasia pen or say sabiota frache o wa denchembo enti obetu denchembo mansu aye nomo no onye bi nomo daache na no na Bob Marley di to onwum say in the abundance of water the fool is thirsty rat race eti wo tu denchembo anyisika na wonye sika na wo de akoto de na wo wie na nsukom de wa wano manwea hey Ghana man
ofen kono mafo
enti saba kwasemu manka why na beka
ajowa
ni atoso nan ni atoso nan ne se momi ampa kwan bia ni oto aba ni oni ahode a ode tira akonyum mpo akoto aba wo mu nyinara no yebebu wo mu se Ghana fo no mu nyina na ya pe kwan bia ma o ma bi se wunya akwanya nyetwi wunya kwan a enye wunya akwanya temu a mokasa no mo bubu brofo afa mu se bubu twi munyai wo a wonte no ko bi so panyi ko bi ejekum no nkyerɛw yenya akwanya yenya kwan eti mesrɛ sɛ make all the ministries, departments, agencies, indeed any public services and opportunities therein open to all qualified and honest citizens, not first and best choice for your family and friends, and not for partisan political attackers, and not for their cohorts, the defenders of selfishness, greed, nepotism, and deception. Nepotism serves no nation well, as it elevates just family and friends over the rest of the citizens. It employs and promotes the average, whilst excluding and demotivating the brilliant. Replace nepotism and mediocrity with exceptionalism and meritocracy. The votes of our family and friends alone will never get anyone the title of Miss Ghana. Sabi, Miss Ghana say we bush your phone kwa na koto abama wa. Miss Ghana kura unya na daachi kura mbo ebia wetumi kura dia akonya diasa. Enti no momi ankai se ya ye busu ya pentumi nto aba enye meye my penyi ana ye meye MP. Dodo na wo man ni mu nyinara na wo mu ni madwuma ye no. Yamuye kwan no mu nya binye. So be grateful and respectful to the many citizens who help to elevate you by granting them fair opportunities and wages too. Do not despise them once you get what you want. Make all public services open to all qualified and honest citizens of Ghana, not just your family, friends, and praise singers. We dey your teacher bi ati ase. Brofo we dey mechanic class 1. To be abeti ase.
Over yen number 5.
Obi say Kwesi Chei e dey na ode 10 pages. On say me ama no nsuo na me 10 pages. Number 5. Keep restraint on your borrowing so you don't impoverish and enslave the generations after you. Mun susun ko bobesia na besia wo hoye wo bono dodo a da ache wo de wo yire beka kosia wawa. Sa wo yire nso ya abrewa na ne obo besia ne so ompa da ache wo de wo ma ne wo nana no mbeka kosia wawa. Entina, some of your good old friends, greedy advisors, and benign encouragers and cheerleaders who egg you on to take the nation into more debt for their own greater benefit will not tell you this. Everyone in leadership. Endless loans are sadly bemoaned by reckless debtors when the time comes to give pounds of flesh, the nurturing breasts, the balls, and babies of our beloved citizens to caustic and cunning creditors. A pound of flesh. So be like the merchant of Venice.
That's right.
Do is a fed the opus calculation. I can say, Sikano Krame, shall buso the famame. Nebedu Rebia, Bessiano do so do, Yamma Nufo, Yamebu Shua, and Yamma Fenia Wumu Kolebu, and Yadibako. Because may come may boom be. If he say, what Bessia do, Ukonqua sum. It is as simple as that. So you may not be here to witness the dreary, disheartening, despondent, and discouraging results of yesterday and today's selfish, greed-inspired, reckless finance and economic mismanagement. Kindly restrain yourself from borrowing so that you don't enslave generations after you are gone. Sometimes maybe I will rest in peace. Now we are living in pieces.
That's right.
Now the 6th commandment from the citizenry to all in leadership, all the way up to the very highest. Number 6, protect, empower, and elevate the youth. Through your words and deeds, create the best opportunities in education, training, certification, and accreditation, in internships, jobs, mentorships, and careers for the youth. An idle, restless youth can be a danger to himself and society. Use the youth not for the work of flea-infested poodles and rabid bulldogs, gnashing their teeth at respectable elders and truth-tellers like me. Move the youth away from defending greed, vanity, and stupidity. Never let those who work for you be seen nor heard attacking wisdom, courage, and honesty. If there is any goodness in you, please don't lie to the youth. And even worse, don't make the youth tell lies for you. Rather, protect, empower, and elevate the youth. Ebiadane ntafre amanfo didi bia na yesum bi egu fom no mo so akotafre enu nti asmo mo so mo nkoye obi a no mo di mirika wo mo ye ni yesu a no mo ama sai twa video no mo di akọ party head office na party head office ma ye na wi o ahe na ye ma me party head office ma ye na wi enra me ha me nwa ba ko wa ye bia odi party chia Azikwe, Kwesi. Aya me hwa sania wa wunye no mu bi. Ya mo ka preso mu nya wo a. Aya na me mobo. Because wo mo anso pia, wo mo na be gina on chen se o nana. Pese me no twa photo. Photo no dia me ni papa fo twa. Me na ejimi fo nso twa. E se wunya be gina on chen. So be so no twa photo. Enye duro bi na ode koye. Sabi obi e ni ho ase akwa ni ho ofi. Ni ho enyan. Enti me ko gina ne twa photo. Ebi ana no ho ye wakono. Ebi ana ni wie bi ana ni nyanse bi na ye ofe. Ana ebi ana photo no kura ode ko kira sabi. Anu nti wudi line mu baby a obi be yiw emo abe enim. Na ne etoso enson number 7. Tax wisely and fairly, so the poorer may pay less and the wealthier pay more. Whether we are extra industrious or extra lucky, everything we own was given to us. And to whom much is given, much is expected. Use the expertise you professed during your interview for the job. I mean, during the campaign. You professed great expertise. Use that expertise now to widen the tax net sensibly, collect the taxes efficiently, and develop the nation effectively. Now, when so mianga, tax spent wisely will be used to enlighten and train our young for the profession.
I know you 5 minutes, but the kind so far so good. You did now watch it. President Mahama. Who is saying?
No Ukraine me any money. Me ubia sebi me jeje ebaso. Sanse aban se oya akwala wedi na watch.
Wedi na watch.
Na sebi me fuma kranti. Na nkola bi o wa am se omo ba na o mafifi sin wo yam. Enti obenyini no na chese ono about the nesebai abrukuma egunshani imponi o na ebesu abibra chese ora mahama chese na wotwe a wode aba ban mu kamia yese emsa abribia no ansa no bi be mampani no awose ehwe obi a aida se waye mampani da anase wabone brase mampani nye obi a sabi ye mano baako otutu fom bi ahye ho ya baako no wagya ho ya fe onam a obo foforo ho daru enti so far no say so far so good na president Kufuor na coin that aphorism no but if I may borrow, I would rather add very, very good or so far so excellent.
Okay.
Because he has started well. You say, say, AB2. Now, and Shasi, you should just foresee a clash, a possible clash. Now, the way I will take you off, no, ama a cronimu aye, just say, I dare back up penetrate President Mahama Max Dampare. And no, the attend max be brave. I'm not pushing for food, and every day the course I get because I led a charge to make sure that Dampare is no more, and he has to be no more, and no penetrate max. Aside from that, the security arrangements yesterday that came, Kofi Boache, Prosper Bani, Minuano Maka, Razak Nom. To say it tells you that President Mahama has learned from the several Nyoma Ghana for a board. Some of them were not so, and you see, and when I can't say, senior standards are the major Mahama ewa bemuno. Yen fam ma ekufuado, because even on a normal day, you would see say Mahama is a serious man. Ekufuado is not. Enti send any busa Ekufuado say oh na nyinam kania na say nsuo ma na bibi man Mahama you say oh a serious person you know the kind of expectation nipa wo every Mahama one different from send Ekufuado. Now how he appointed his ministers, no even miensa abeto dwemu any edua regional ministers are appointing. For example, me Chrome as anti-member and Faton.
Yeah, Dr. Marco.
We have lived 8 years of just a useless and wasteful minister for Ashanti region. Very useless man of the region. You who be that as Ashanti who regional minister or you useless say that.
Very useless.
I had to say Akufo-Addo needed to insult Ashanti and until no kofa or say Mensa Simon say Omra Metna region because where Obaya region among the most populous votes are among Obaya Mampeni. And then Uka say Akufo-Addo got to the away origin in one. A bad thing. Either so be a dear or yeah, na be a hot to us soon, be a with me, and no crampono, why na far. Say, quite a year, to say a year, I say, me, yeah, a pentimamento. When you need a man soon as antimine, or because he put somebody or yeah, a square peg in a round hole. And now, ordinary Tina Honsono, Simon, or near Noah, or bet him dear do a Akufo-Addo. And oftentimes, say, kofa openia, sebi, na adwini mu abo to a on person obeye de sefata. Emma apinisie no edoso. At the mention of Dr. Amwako Heneno, I say a cronimu I form because sebi unima Amwako Heneno crampo ye cast will be a doctor cracker. Apart from Napua, or only the doctor no ebo a friend is saying a galamsey. She will be a doctor. How or diagnose issues before he attends to them, and loan to tell you say he's up for progress. Now Amwako Henemo a track record here as secretary, will deliver on his mandate first as Obia Uncle Fapulin agents and Mra will introduce a DB say a more exams. And he made sure say e bin CDM say Asante Mamuna MPP ni na ye pulling agent ma NDC EBNC. Even when the issues of Kwabri came up, the way he tackled the issue and made sure say even if he has to lose some people's votes to make sure that things are corrected, he made sure. And that is a marker. I was say your bonabaso. Until when he say it's an honorarium to him, and it is to test his future in politics. Me imagine me say, "Oh, you're young, though. Na me offer Kwesi Adjumai. Na oh, and you kofa onuni nua kuma kwakubia. Eye krobia refresh to kotoko. Ohimbo di amma muso. Ebeye utufo. Na obai, he has a very impeccable record. Me did say be me offer Kwesi Adjumai tiasia. Obetimi aye bi bat. Nana kwakubia sebi obaye beye krobia refresh Asante kotoko. Oso Asante memu baby odi Asante memu. Wakobi. Yes, bema be ye bi. Na so no so wo hwe Simon osay mensa na bakosem wa mayosem na de toto eye amako hene ho a one way we be deceived say we experienced, but you see any experience nyina na ye papa because I tell you our experience and what did that prison Akufo-Addo our experience power mayosem wo hwe how why amemo no troka experience no you can say experience that any experience keke experience a papa the quality and impeccable experience that you showcase no o track record no and ebe me ehu Simon Semens I know experience wa man you say mu a ten your friend say ohene na so no ni experience na at the papa bi anim so kwobusomtwe a no ye MP wo ho na oni any legacy I will be to say so say ade way ni way na Simon Semens abeye ye MP oyeye e wan so na wuntumi free omuma constituency ni ye tantantan edu baby na obi akon no but it got to a point sa constituency no ni pafufro bi bedi nanimu no utimi say ekonanim impo uhwe otiaje kura ono kura wa meye MP da the record and work constituency no aso chen the why obey regional minister no why enti me dey so far so good me dey me region ya I congratulate everyone that has been appointed, but John Mahama has a challenge for you. Because John Mahama will never spare the rod and spoil you, the minister.
Yeah.
He will never. The John Mahama that I know, the John Mahama that I have lived with and understood, he will never spare the rod and spoil the minister. Okay. And so I pray, sir, diligently. Ghanaians called on John Mahama because a time came when we were enslaved by our own, your friend is enslaved masters. Baby, I drew no mon koto na mon soma ya sebi mo ho se Ghana for ehia mo a e ma mo ma na nya te se sebi mo de mo ya adehye e na ye yankoa perifo se so odehye anko a akoadwane enti mo a mo ya adehye na asese ya pa mo se mo ma mesom no mo fa osompa mo nsan ni yade sebi pregrasa anopo ewie o anadu de suomo se Ghana for fremu a muso yin yade mo mra mu ho ase mo som mo man mo ma yehu the difference between the NDC and the MPP atete apansa na ye ahantan ni dwe kankan and your man sem fata ade a nipa ni anim sa ade we sebi eni kwan se ye na obadwam na omo ye o ma pani mu atimi ko hene sorry na na ti amen na class sam you ma tantan na the odikan yesi the odietire so the odikan nante it afa na the ministers muhwe utimi minister bi na chese akwante se wono na wiase nyina ye ne dia akronfo mammo krono John Mahama eni ne dictionary mu obi a wabeye mampani a woko fie baby na odi ne ti betu krampo na se bi onim munhwe no na munsua no be very selfless and make sure say you put your integrity on the line. At all the times, make sure say, over free ministry hono, now we have good legacy. My more dinka say, oh minister way and a buyer in CC who doa ne here as for mine. Of course, send John Jinapo, Washasiano. You say was one cray. Yeah, okope friend say.
Yes, I cartoon who you
and Julius Samani direct from more. She say moye your friend say aswafo ne obi bia ya power me di me anu sia obi bia ya nyam power awo o dwen say John Mahama o sre ne say obe power pacho fani die ni ebu efama tumi wura you say on na tumi ni kura no say wanya bia sebi e mane nya oya because enye obi bia na benya bi na se wanya bia de obenya ne se wobeboa de onya bie no na bi etina ebeduru so ekofo bi PMC DC ni nyoma mehu se baabi wo ho a constituency bi wo ho a na se district bi wo ho a na municipal bi wo a nipa ben so nipa 14
baabi kwa de nipa 25
mu nyina sebi ebi a mu deserve but eye ana nkofo refi udu CV beba wo ko school wa ha wo te se ba wo mi a wo de CV ba yo and wa bon sa no oko school wa doctor o PhD e wo economics mu e so hwe ne track record wa bon ye here political CV why na some ya otimi ye ma John Mahama ba mu o kwa fa political CV ebra ne ye hu se adwuma we na wo ye ma John Mahama we ne ye obi koye adwuma ma obi medi ano de me na obi nya adwen se obi akọ brain mo jani ama John Mahama ba mu na wo firi America wo firi ye adwuma wa ama Okokoti amete so me discover. Eya suma sika na sika na.
Sika no koye cafe.
Si fom bra be ya djuma. Enya sika na yesum no, yesum nipa.
Okay.
Eti si fom be ya djuma wa ma. Next time bra. Na ya record udi ntu nkwa nwom. Na sa de ne se na mini wei na me fa ha categories no sa de no me hu bia me meka.
Okay.
So me crampo if I don't deserve it, don't give me.
Okay.
Don't give me because if I'm going to goof. Now the mamia you are calling for the failure. Okay. We don't expect any failure. Okay. For example, if you just say, chairman, you call you kuhunu, no, yeah, you man. Meant now, I will be from my media. I will talk because more, me who will list Nimunano, Yabaho Yahumo, including Obia Yahumo. And I will make sure, say, the right persons are appointed because, and yes, I be November 2028, you be because 2028 me open say NDC be ya de be me time ya make say me no to na enko na nkra na bi mu no how much because I'm na Ghana any that's one.
Okay. Rachel.
Kopim sa bre no. Me no mo an eko. Say who me now frame MPP ni am do be court. I know the am do be court because
yes, no he do be hu aka na.
I will be a young come dey ko apache. You know.
Richard yeah, right. Also project your back as you're interested in sending a man cosurana.
Yeah, I think the appointment, so far, like I told you, I like the swiftness. Of Aswa Nemano Kowa, because very often government change a certain slip beer, a take a while. The government business becoming to life, na Nema be a conchain. I like the way Nema echo, and like you said, appointment, na expect one way or the other, nipa na be positions, but I am not one person. I don't celebrate appointment. I celebrate what you do with that particular power na the amount, because yatena krum happen ye nyina betena haka what a solid team. Ye never host sana station boys. Ye never host nyina solid team na dan adana gas. And you're part of the world. No, what one thing I'm always saying is say nipa nya tumi a na they begin to think differently. The way a man for who near man, it turns out to be the other way. So I only wish said the overwhelming mandate Ghana for the President Mahama, a man overwhelming parliamentary numbers. Now, so any GDA or some individuals more appoint you mono. Those people will hold that particular trust, in a very high esteem. Now, or more deliver on that. Now they will not veer off. Like I told you in my earlier submissions, one thing Ghanaians will never forgive is when somebody become arrogant, you decide to veer off on those kind of stuff. So at this time, there is not much to say about competence, and as we call for president to appoint a any part of competence and or final. When it comes to certificate, those kind of stuff, now Obia or president, even those who didn't even get it, yeah, casa man for two certificate, certificate able to go on and yard ketwa, but no the day when I beg get the job done. Because my culture is politics going forward, cannot be business as usual. Never be brass. So when you're coming on board, ABI now what happened to be in the previous administration in the past, you should know that this is a different terrain altogether, because say in the Ghana near why they are following politics with a certain way attention or more. So once you mess up or you slip, you'll be sacrificed, and that is what should motivate some of them. You see, early appointments, a cause for celebration, but one day now slip, that will also be the end of your political career. What are the amount of a basia when near, but we have one mistake, it will end your entire political career. So I think that people will also take a cue from some of these things and going forward. The larger vision is to ensure, say, you bet me a project you build the Ghana that we all want. We are not building a nation for anybody. We are building a nation of our own design, ever for young Kasa and the generation yet to come. It's not a big deal. So, you should know, say, one Kasa na obo one bro. Kronwa among for bogu wene, yes, oh, from Mumbai. Yes, oh, bra papa. And you will not be worried about some of these things. Sometimes you might even want to be invited. Sabi abaka wo numa sem just to tell people say I am not corrupt. They are not cause no say net here. But unim say what be so you don't want to be.
What your friend as obeko.
Exactly.
All the milk friend obeko. What exactly. Or pentem cram your friend.
Yes. So some of this clarity will be there, and adeba kwan ya eba ban form may have been around for quite a while. I've seen government in power. So aban bia ba adeba kwan born form communication. Because when the government is in opposition, you see everybody talking, woman organizer, men organizer, Obia Kasa. But the very moment the party comes to power, Obia taking position, then they leave the communication front there. They are not the day, Nipana, Adena, Bino, and nobody is communicating. Obia Didi, by the time. Whenever also not propaganda, I am God for the entire government, then you have no other option than to go. God now so I say I'm for a chronicle near my John Mahama year 2016. After 2020 elections, in the 2024 elections, when I'm for getting to know even some of the things that John Mahama did. But when the government was in power, people didn't even know about those things. You understand? So I think communication is very, very essential. I said,
everything that has to be done to ensure say you also have to communicate for people to know what is going on, because governance, may say the most essential part of governance is communication, getting people to know what is happening at any point in time. Sabaya, you'll be at the same stage with the people. Sabaya, things will move on. So appointment, I may not have much to say about the Mr. Kind. I just hope say.
Now wait for 1 minute if I shame, brother so I have a 1 minute if I shame. My own idea be trendy with social media.
Okay.
Yenya Badjo is Bawa. Akoka say a woman say former President Kufuor or yeni among whom are benefits and also the map President John Dramani Mahama no wa farmer to the sense light bills ne ejuma for when na President Mahama kasa and a tuomoka for 8 years the office or team one dia but one be ye ne dia ma no enkofu adwa.
I'm not sure, sir. You expect Madam Joyce So I think it was a diplomatic, reasonable comment or make here. Oh yes, to be very honest.
Yeah.
But as to whether that will be done or not, that will be maybe later. I don't know. But I mean, some of these things, me who say who cry and said here, sir. If no or deserve no entitled, they should give it to him. Me the most important thing is that rot now, that is what we need to investigate. What are some? We need to pay attention to those things. Sabaya a BNCBM because Akufo-Addo Nankasano, I have suggested say we need to bring him before a commission.
Yeah.
Yes, setting up a looting commission. Now your friend know why he did some of the things that he did. For instance, you can't just wake up a day now what time of mine $50 million dollars. So we a seed money for cathedral. Now the show team. So why he did those things, you need to explain to people. So some of these things now entitlement and then there a side way be a whole cry and no I think that the critical issues not has to do with you are making sure that they account for those things, including the president. Why he borrowed the way he borrowed, why they decided to mortgage statutory fund like Get Fund, like ESLA and other crucial way. He need to explain some of these things. Now, entitlement. I'm not sure. Say yes, social media. You have people having expressing certain. Now, President Mahama or more the side money did no crown. He's not worried. What I see, so sometimes some of these things, and I think that is normal, but I think it was a right statement. No make here.
No, listen.
Obaya. Didika. I say Gideon Boakonom press conference no the whole Ghana, including Onua Gideon, treating him with the greatest contempt he deserves. What you say? Probably be too abaya for. Who now go to your effort? Oh, but we had entrated to one my when no, ye ba. And ye and Namwa, you to the four, your money bratness. If you brow, then the whole bob by me on can credit that. No, better, sir, copy because yes, I know me now, didn't walk canon. Say a Bible, I can't say in Serenian and no meaning, in your open. I know you know me. Obedient trust copy me with them. Because you see, the first time Bawumia was cursed by lying was when he held the Quran. Yeah, Quran no, Surah no ni aya say adia when we eni hu adanse. Oko ya wo di adanse krum, chachu busa ne question I say you and I were not there. Where di adanse krum? A whole of fan no mean free to obedient trust copy that will be. When I say Gideon Boakon. Okay then. What are you thinking? I mean, I won't come on tie one one ho. Won't tie ne ho. Na Bawumia can say wo baba be sesa. Ye baba yi esla a friend is saying he lives a friend betting tax no. Na dey na no dey bebu mine. Na mo ma dwem se mo ye nipa chen obi ana. Mo mabonbon, ye wo school kra mabon. Mabon mo nyina mabonbon. Including Bawumia na mu. Penny record. Obi a wo PhD, where baby on the dollar do. Mo ene ya kasa, mo bebie mo no akadi. Adam ka say economics ne ya ka, e school na mo kwa no makosua 2 point pass no. Mo pass ya na ma bon mo timi, ya dia ban amamo. Where baby am fa dollar free. You quadruple the dollar. It go to a point that dollar you turn the same. E ka kra bi na nke do 20 cedis. And a titi ba ya ye kwato abai sika na o ma wi ase o mo pass no akronfo amamboyfo na afi wo so mo kwase sika ni bi di koye campaign enne ma dollar ne so teye no Mrs. John Mahama ban yi timi e dia hodin ni ense yo abro mo yi sika ni free dem e be gu abonten dollar na betimi abafo dollar na o ma wi ani nyina ma me nche ha e digan o mo so mo kotwa 100 cedis ni 200 cedis because that time no mo person mo stabilize dollar no na dollar na enya amane because mo hu say so mo say cedis into dollars no mo di kogu o mo dem a ebema your friend is saying dollar no ehun akwatwe na dollar no ehun kwatwe a ne boye den dollar yesi akoso ni nyina no enye bibia se dollar no e na say no ehun kwatwe a ti se nsuo ehun kwatwe a okope bi ato ade boye den $80 no omutwa 200 note ne 100 cedi note no e na afei omudi kogu omo dem enu bi na akwa bi a opegya bi minister bi de ko share dem no otwa hu video beto abonti wo so omukun boy no bawu ya mi ni twa neka enu wu ye na ni wo na chi no enu omote say Mahama 2020 na wo ba no oba outlaw the 200 and 100 cedis ama ye ndi ses kan bi enu om say sa na tie dia de ye wi agu dem no ye fa nkoto dollar na se ye ka se dollar krampo no eni cedi no dollar na bu cedi na eno de ye ya na be defend ye de intro be defend ye be ka se covid na aba na ama dollar na koso covid e ba ye be to dollar Russia Ukraine war no e be she dollar na enti no eye ntro sisi na da power ba we physical na dani dem ya made etimi akotwimu $1 million a wono asa wo kronfo no wo de kronfo asa akọ court enti no se yetimi jisika na wo mo ho na dollars na sisi o mo pass no yetimi di a me se dollar na hwe me ba 3 na 2 enu ni adwuma e wo se John Mahama mo focus on enu na di sa de ora ya aye ORS se nkofu
afa ye bi afa mu ye mo tsira
ba ya sabi se ye pa afase a pra wada esiofin oni afase wada ye ri akonfo ese abanda da ni mo ni pa no mo ya akonfo ni ehwehwe
no so wani
obi wo wa you don't have to investigate to know so akonfo because obi ti say abujinapo you know obi am told you man no oni kapre how did he afford the mansion he lives in now our airport hills an acre land a Portuguese architecture infrastructure everything Portuguese no I know them personally me ko ho mu si dan me ko ho otimi na sika good polytank mu mani pawu nipa 7 o mawu Savannah region ya ku nipa 7 that paria da Roma onya sika no yin asanso onya sika wo yin abetie raba onya sika no wo yin yudiahe onya sika no wo yin ya otimi obi a otimi ntwa rent afa otimi nya sika esi dan makomako 37 wa bra ni yiri ja no no dan makomako 37 onya sika no yin akufodo onya sika wo yin a onu timi ko si dan no e wo Trasako wasi bi wo Paris wasi bi wo Guyana
ebi kro chebio
ebi so chebi palace no e ye ga na sika chebi for palace no because omo palace no ma to galaxy ama asengina hihim Akronfosa, you are coming to tell us how we should govern this country. What come on to? No he. Yeah, probably I'm not too careful. I will and now buy more. Who give you a buckle? Just say, I smile with a wedding here for an inquiry. What about the tree?
Madame say,
it's your waffle and your 2 hours, your palm on my cotton of you. Young Pamoniate, young Pamone, crying party. Akronfo omo me ye bufu every time it is so your press conference me bufu
ni se man me press
oui when you can say Muna ya pamu amu kwa mu wansna. Prayer cry de prayer tia ma se kura abubu. Ya pamu ni ati mo ne ya party. Mo be ye micro item minority way. Anu kwa Ghana for cry se nke ye pese mu ye be hu kura mo sunsun ana mo samai kura wo. Na se bedwa mo. Na mo nya be se aduosunu bia e ma mo mfa ne saa. Mo be John ma ba be ye pe obi atenene a. Gidi oboako. Ah. Hey, ogidi. You are warned. Oh, the next time I hear your voice, you will hear another side of me.
Poncho no cry.
Ah,
this was poncho.
Yeah, can't say my penya sa form of maybe 2 4. Now, my question says motor for be amun. Now who give your crowd but na say be dem first time we. Now who ni nyansa be na onima onim chen wan. Now who ato force na wo koka na asem no. Say onye decisive, onye den. Look at the words he used. I say evasive. Who was more evasive than who knew about Womiano? I want to become about the word economy. You invaded the economy. And you started going for digitization. What does Baumia know about digitization? When John Mahama was doing Mr. Baby and make us say as communication minister, where was Baumia? What do you know about digitization? I know Kwagana for Java with the Gromo. Now we John Mona, we bet cheerful. One was I want you to go to before Samuel Coboy Jamaica. Okay.
The intrusion of the judiciary into the eyes of the judiciary, called the separation of powers, Emma, all these institutions certain room to operate under certain flexible environment. You will not have other institutions poking into your eyes. But unfortunately, the whole thing has turned a certain dramatic turn. I'm so controversy in as for by JB. Judge, judge. But there are certain basic things as people we can look at and make critical analysis about it. For instance, so we have the dealings and the behavior of this current Supreme Court now. It looks as if say about the terror arm of power. You to bully to get their way through. Because I heard the circumstances, how predictable the Supreme Court has become, and in the way a manner government business per se go through, they will do everything humanly possible to make sure that it goes through. And on that, I'm about the public confidence and trust in the institution. Low. And the public trust anywhere. And Ramo Ibrahim Foundation at the statistics Babonton as to how much Ghana for have trust in the institution. You talk about the autonomy of the court. If the court any autonomy, it means that somebody somewhere is pulling strings. Until we achieve justice, not justice the kind of verdict institutions and Ghanaians are passing. You should be very much concerned. You don't sit on the bench and say, "Men of you to me or my ruling and not and not have baby as if so no be wasem." Or no one kasana na hona wasem because an institution or no have no respect. Among for muno. And the last institution has to do with the judiciary. Because my culture say parliamentarians over the years all had the behavior and as for Ghana for taking it serious. The presidency are at Ponkoso and now people don't take them serious. The only avenue Ghana for our hope the judiciary, the highest pinnacle of judicial power. And menunya samayan chesekan yabeko and ya weaponizing the judiciary and trust and anything anyhow because some of the ruling are inconsistent. For instance, Supreme Court is telling us today ruling in Yamabonte, but per the S-party application that was granted to Afenya Mark and Kachire and said, so we have Nipana or more MPs, so across the carpet now. We can't deny them representation in Parliament because people voted for them. They need representation. Now maybe say court now okay say Nipa no voter region omuni MP na yen ratify the next 4 years omonya MP no omo de say be omo moa. They don't need representation in Parliament. You see the inconsistency. Yet Chrome has say and MP ya to Abama no your friend say NDC MP ya Africa by
Jachi Kwesi.
Nipa also ya to Abama no. He was injuncted for the first time in the history of this country man continue for 2 good years until say to Aba. So you see the level of inconsistency. So this is the reason why Ghana for are raising
but these are 2 different issues.
No.
Jachi Kwesi the other has to do with citizenship.
No. Jebi, Because
we know vacating of seat because we're across the carpet.
No, but there is a common element at that point. Now the ultimate issue has not been determined. What I say, so you don't inject because the principle they say the people need representation. That is the basic principle I can say. But that has been the soul of this argument. They need representation until the final matter is determined. You can't tell him to go home. That is what Supreme Court is telling us. But the case was not determined, but he was sacked to go and sit home.
Okay,
you understand?
So to Supreme Court. I think that they are making a very important ruling or something. Or more making statement. So you go Supreme Court to see now. You could say so we will come back and after
it leaves no room for any argument whatsoever, and the majority decision, very big majority, clear majority, 5-2. It's not as if it was a narrow majority, 3-4 or 4-3, that anyone can say, well, there's some room for kind of review anything at all. But the point I'm making is that whenever the court speaks, it's such a clear and emphatic order. Even if it's a very narrow majority, that's the decision of the court, and that decision must be respected. And I'm saying that it will result in a degeneration of our society and a destruction of our democratic order for anybody at all to refuse to comply with orders of the Supreme Court. And I think that's non-negotiable. It's something that we must all respect. I have heard some statements by certain political actors to the effect that the case ought to be withdrawn and that there ought to be negotiation and all that. I'm quite surprised because indeed, firstly, I did not hear such expression of a willingness to negotiate and all, or maybe such instruction to the speaker or direct suggestion to the speaker for negotiation and all when the speaker started embarking on this act. And I think that for me it's very important that the Supreme Court ruled upon this matter because it is something that had been occurring in this country. The tendency for it to occur really was there. The tendency for it to occur again was there. It's necessary, or it was necessary, that the Supreme Court came to this clear conclusion and determination of the matter, the meaning of Article 97, Clause 1, paragraphs G and H. And I think we must all respect it.
What do you expect to happen in Parliament? Parliament is currently expect to happen in the Speaker of Parliament.
I think the Speaker of Parliament himself, to start with, indicated in his address to the press last week that the case raised very serious legal issues. Those were serious legal issues and matters bordering on governance in the country. In fact, so I must express my utter shock at this refusal to even file a process. If indeed the Speaker of Parliament himself recognized that the matter raised serious legal issues, as he said to the media last week, where else would you address legal issues but in the court of law? Where else would you have such a definitive pronouncement on the so-called serious legal issues that the Speaker himself recognized in his press statement done by the Supreme Court of Ghana? So as for the Speaker of Parliament, indeed, is law-abiding. I've known him for a very long time to comply with the decision of the Supreme Court. As I said, it is non-negotiable in every civilized society. When an order of the court is given, no matter how highly placed or lowly placed the court is, even if it's a magistrate's court, you have to obey until it is set aside.
Having seen the conclusion of this matter, would you say as an Attorney General that there's a need for a constitutional review?
What does it relate to this? The American Constitution itself, very thin, as we all know. Yet, the Supreme Court, that Constitution has survived over 200 years. I think that, of course, there are certain provisions in the Constitution that I think that ought to be amended, and I've expressed my views on it to the media. Article 78, Clause 1, which enjoins the President to appoint majority of his ministers from Parliament, ought to be amended. There ought to be that flexibility. I think that certain institutions, for example, the Electoral Commission, NCC, and what have you, the appointment of their heads has to be with the prior approval of Parliament. But I don't think that it calls for a complete overhaul of the Constitution. And indeed, this Constitution is very strong. And it is one Constitution which even goes as far as prescribing consequences of a failure to carry out the Supreme Court order. The Supreme Court order, the consequences are set out clearly in Article 2, Clauses 3, 4, and 5 of the Constitution, that any person to whom an order of the Supreme Court is directed shall duly carry out same. And a failure to carry out such an order of course, has the consequences of a criminal punishment. In the case of the president, will even result in the president and vice president will result in removal from office.
And finally, do you expect the Speaker of Parliament to rip up Parliament on his own volition after this ruling, given that the court has spoken in such a
Yeah, I think so. I mean, as I said, it's an emphatic determination by the court on the matter, and the Speaker of Parliament has no option but to comply. I mean, I think that we must stop giving with one hand and taking with the other. As I said, it really amounts to double standards and an exercise in contradiction. For the Speaker of Parliament, in his address to the media, say that the case raises such serious legal issues and matters bordering on governance and all that, and then refuse to take back. So this country refuse to take part in the proceedings. I think in this country we must recognize some people for who they are and what they do. This hypocrisy and double standards must cease. The Supreme Court is the final arbiter on all matters in the country, including an interpretation of the Constitution. Indeed, it's the only court solely seeks jurisdiction to pronounce on the meaning of relevant provisions of the Constitution. And the Constitution means what the Supreme Court says it means, and nothing more. It is the same in America, and as I said, America, United Kingdom, and all advanced democracies, that is the order that they respect. There's no way a Supreme Court would give a decision in America or United Kingdom, and then the Prime Minister, apart from expressing his disagreement with the decision of the President of America, of course he has a freedom of expression to express his disagreement with the decision, but he has no option but to comply, and they usually comply, and that is it.
Attorney General, many have said that this decision or this judgment was to be expected, and that the judiciary seemed to be in bed with the executive. Can you address that?
I mean that. So first of all, some principles of law have been established well over decades. There's no principle of law argued in this matter which has not been established in this country. And indeed, if that's the case, then any case mounted which has in play those principles will be determined the same way. So I think that if there's indeed a rule of law, an element of it is predictability. It's not a case where a court of law will rule this way on account of the same principle of law, but rule another way on account of the same principle. So indeed, there must be some element of predictability. And I'm saying that in these principles that we contended with in this matter are old principles. There's nothing new. And for those who are saying the court is acting a certain way and all that, the same people were those who were rejoicing when the Court of Appeal gave a decision acquitting their leader. Their leader was acquitted by the Court of Appeal. They were happy with it. And to date, he's able to make all those arguments in Parliament because he has been acquitted. And I did not raise any issue with that back to appeal. I did not say I'm not going to respect the decision of the court. I respect the decision of the court, and until the decision is set aside by a higher court, which is the Supreme Court, that decision will remain binding on all. So we must stop this hypocrisy and exercises in contradiction. As I said, that when our reaction or attitude to court rulings depends on how palatable we deem it. We cannot react to decisions based on how palatable we deem it, and that's exactly what is happening. Thank you very much.
All right, so the Supreme Court of the land by 5-2 decision release speaker declaration say oyi ekofo 9 or declare most sitting vacant no unconstitutional, and after your markings kasa tie number
your position today.
You accept that he's not.
No, I just want us to have clarity for the purposes of education. What is your position now? I want to know what has the court said. That what? No, yes, we are educating ourselves. You know, I want that we are educating us. We are not fighting. We are educating ourselves. So I want to know from you.
He doesn't want to respond.
No.
Go on with
we need to get it. So MPP against NDC is to interpret the Constitution. What has happened today? We are
Abba Sumana Babin, our Speaker of Parliament, now could declare 4 seats vacant. Now, Supreme Court are overturning that particular ruling. Now, with these 4 seats, Miesa the NPP and 1 the NDC. The second Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Andrew Esiama, or call Parliament as an independent member of Parliament. And now, Yenya Kweku Asante, Suhu member of Parliament, and of course, Cynthia Morrison. Omuyina so more call as independent content crow. And now, Peter Kwachiaka also call as an independent parliamentary candidate. Speaker of Parliament, Abasumana Babin, Ejina Nitumiso Article 97.1, and then Nasifo anybody na Ediclo Musit no vacant. Sisia Supreme Court, Asama Eban say Supreme Court are overturning that particular declaration, making their seats not vacant. And so for that matter, after your marking and the NPP continues to be the majority in Parliament. This is what is happening. Menoka said there's jubilation all over Parliament, and of course, we share the way almost jubilate to Honoma. They are answering questions of money, Ghana for the Gobadi Banana and the MPP.
To court. Don't forget that Assam and people respect it.
Yeah.
But there is one thing that is missing. That respect is not there. Because I'm telling you, sir, sitting at the bench and dispensing justice is just a smaller part of it. Getting people to believe and trust in the justice delivery system, that is the whole package. You understand? So working one part and not working one part. That is why I'm very much concerned about the many concerns being raised by Ghanaians. Mo Ibrahim.
Yeah.
See, Afro barometer. I search about this whole judiciary because it is not about the final delivery. It is about the processes and the circumstances. Recently, we went to court. Don't forget, Asam Kaka say Speaker of Parliament and defending so he didn't go there with a representation. So I have found marking so that is by the way. Asam we Chief Justice and panel team there was one person failed parliamentary candidate of the New Patriotic Party, the MPP. It was raised at the Supreme Court. This is the highest judicial power. That's Obia our partisan ties in the past. Our core MP, our fairly our whole central. Not such a critical case. What number 10? Common sense will tell you say it will not augur well with you and the people, because you know why? Chief Justice by and also, this is a constitutional matter. Constitutional matter brought forth by political actors. And young Coco didn't send no call to a nipa from political party and the call. So the political interest, so you can discount it on the basis a constitutional matter and obi our known partisan ties among for him say nipa way or MPP ni or call parliamentary way of and a President Akufo-Addo abeg the judge and such a sensitive matter so I am not saying say what the Supreme Court the above correct and as because I'm going to me we have no right, we have no power, but you will to match what I say era we are no yamfana me judge na me way nipa what I say na make actually debiana meka Pontius Pilate no parents on almost that dear channel na man for come adwene kire no na nti say your friends say error we are way you will sit there Obama with judgment, we will sit here, we will express because that is democracy. That dear chair. Omokrano also okoku yesu no yese or your friends Barnabas onja Barnabas no ku yesu and your public no more shout to him. So you don't sit there and think say dispensing justice and it ends there, everybody should shut up. No, I'm not for better because there are certain basic elements border on common sense, reasoning, and logic. I heard the Supreme Court ruling in recent times. Every and then I'm a man for a lose trust and confidence. And to what as a judge, as a chief justice, you should know that you are just passing because paying. All that you do is to redeem the image of the judiciary because we are going to an election. There will be a number of cases coming up. And if you have people not trusting the judiciary, you should be worried because at the end of the day, as some court and at the end of the day, what happens? We are moving into an era of chaos. What I say, and it's the reason why it is incumbent on the judiciary and the chief justice today. I am sending her a text message saying, on repair their friends the image of the judiciary because the image of the Ghana's judiciary is in the tatters, is in the gutters. And she has to do everything to repair. And yes, as a Ghana for lose trust, confidence, our judiciary, we are done because Babi could do no. Ruling about right, whether right or wrong, I don't care. But I'm very much concerned about public trust in the institution because democracy, revolve around the last time I catch you say. So we are democracy to her. If you sit somewhere and you think the soldier for the bomb by police, and your police, it is we the people. The trust and the confidence we repose in state institutions, democratic institutions, and among democracy in happen. Just imagine say everybody in Accra, that's around pass and you see a by demonstration. Do you think the president can sit here? We saw what happened in Sri Lanka when the citizens rose to the Jubilee House. The president ran away. You understand? So power, the sovereignty of Ghana, residing on we the people. It doesn't matter who you are. Chief Justice or Supreme Court, you are just a smaller part of it, playing a role. Very soon you fade. You understand? Another person will come, but we need to protect this country. So don't sit there and allow yourself to be used as a stooge in the hands of power. Say obi directive, then you go use your conscience. I don't care whether people belong to NDC or MPP, but you see, never lose your conviction, never lose your offense, your conscience. But we've gotten to a point that we've lost everything, no value, no principle, no morality. Then I say for them, and then. Supreme Court will remain a conversation as Makachiro said, whatever be the outcome, inconsequential to resolving this matter because the Supreme Court has ruled in favor of MPP. Do you think the NDC MPs will go and sit there for parliament business to happen?
It's something else.
No, that is up to them. They can also decide to boycott. Into a boycott, the speaker cannot make decision our house, so because also you don't have the number. So I know that what happens is the reason why America said in modern governance and as for there are methods they resolve some of these issues, mediation, reconciliation, whole lot of stuff. Because we are all learned individuals, are very rational. We settle, we argue among ourselves. How do we resolve this particular issue? At the end of the day, consistently we are forcing them to lose trust in our institutions, and I think that is very dangerous. Obama Bahano Kacha and say Africa should build strong institution. He was not talking about Kwaku Abenao and I said Obi Betina institution in Maya Barrio. He was talking about allowing rule of law principle in the way Juma Sabaya Nipa Benya trust because remember that's why I have need trust to police. I do think Minya case a report to police. We need to have trust in all these institutions because that is what makes democracy today. And look at the kind of state a woman there. The media, the police, everything. Democracy, the only fortunate thing I hear is Ghana for are very discerning enough. Say we don't want to break our fourth republic because circumstances are revolving around Africa. How some countries are breaking their democracy. The Ghana term, but because we are civilized, we are very tolerant people. We hope that election is in the offing. Let us hope that things will get better. So Supreme Court, there's somebody ruling about it, but we are telling them that our integrity out there, it's in the gutters. And it is incumbent upon them to do everything to repair. They should go and look at the Mo Ibrahim report. They should go and look at your first Afro Barometer report. You should be very much concerned. What the program was now? Man for the any rating be and a man for board downward. Shouldn't you be concerned about it? When you know, say whatever you do, every revolve around public trust and confidence. You can sit there and say that you don't care, but institution now will to get them, and I think that is very sad.
All right, that's about now.
I agree with everything Ivan says. Everything he says is true. We, the people, have no trust in any institution in this country.
You don't even trust the Supreme Court?
We don't trust anything. You think you are telling us something, but we on the street, and me, I work in the ghettos. We down there, we have no respect for anything you say or do because we know everything is biased. We did not expect any different outcome than what we got. We didn't expect anything else.
Oh, really?
We did not. Nobody did. Except for maybe the MPP people. But me and the people that I know, that I talk to, Fix the Country, Democracy, we all expected this to happen.
Interesting. I see.
Was there ever, did it even ever look like it was going to be different? It didn't at any point. And what
but this is a clear test case for us, and I'm also imagining what is going to happen to the previous ruling by the 7th Speaker of Parliament, Professor Aaron Michael Quay, after declaring the same former member of Parliament seats vacant when he stood in as the independent parliamentary candidate when he defected from the NPP. And
Yes, you be an sadia. I'm innocent, we be able to call
Yeah, Yamiadum.
What was innocent? We didn't know when I'm saying. Now, Miss
innocent and say innocent. Innocent, I am very, very innocent. We are super innocent.
Super innocent, wow. Yamini have wow. Now, we cannot say.
Oh, I think so far so good. Second week, when I was to see since President Mahama took over, and I think that so far some of the decisions are econo. I think that there is much to say about it. I think that he's on the right track. And so to make also in this particular direction, I think that things will be in order.
Okay.
So far I can say I'm impressed with some of the decisions now because you could see clearly this is someone who in the oil. He's on top of issues, and my instructions are now very decisive and very, very, very swift in his way of dealing with Nema. And I think it's good. That is what we need. I just hope about to say na kekan Ghana for the Kotwa December 7th. I did 2 Akufo-Addo na ban no. Saa gidie na omunya ye ewo aban no mu no enkotento. Ko ya wonim say abekodru ba bia Ghana for ni da so mo democracy mu kra na dru ba bi no na eni ho biem. Enra na meka kire obi wo ba bi say wo he Traore oba inauguration ya obi oye cool leader. Look at the fans and na oje. People were celebrating him, but this is a guy a cool no ye. Chiro say gidi amam for democracy no atwa asa.
Yes, nyame kra na gi ye na yetimi di.
Yes.
Democracy atwa so atwa ba.
Yes, because at a point oye research bia na Ghana for prefer say be cool than say be to aba. Because democracy no some people are fan say avenue for them to amass wealth. Last time I catch obi say oh he the na na me who say practice democracy. We've just adopted a convenient portions of democracy. Na for our own convenience. But baby yama near Juma institutions of states so for instance President Akufo-Addo can just sit at his office. Now we crack a whip on state institutions. Look at Kwesi Pratt Jnr. At some point in time, judicial look at some of the appointments that he was making. Clearly to me say it didn't make sense because it will be our party ties. How then do you justify how would the Nippon Supreme Court? When this particular justice dispensation is about emboldening trust and confidence in the people. What I say. So clearly you could see the executive was tripping. And my man for the issues of corruption and as a former dancer, CCC, that probability baby, apart from government, but papa be a wabo outside way. Now $1 million S&M pass.
No crana yira no way hu.
Na otiminya kokodro ko police station ko report. Na police ni so ya training no wa go through anhu nyansa anhu say asem na ma mena kana ya red flag that I need to take the issue up. Na ya bom modern adi so akwache nkra ma ya na de omo court. Say nya court documents do be ko site here na issue we babon tia. Enka nkra no kra ba na nka jeli omo. E kiro say kwan e fa so ya training amanfo kra wo krom say problem because we a police officer no be ba be ka kiro say obi we $1 million from the dema, you should first arrest that person. What I said, but just everything was falling apart. So I think say no can who be and a man that GD na in the hobby. So I just hope say baby able do and they say no mabim because say Ghana for GD kofama minim na me catch will be said this is the last leg of democracy in Jinaso because the entire coup man say Akufo-Addo sha say no din in same hunu nyina people thought okay your mama have a chance now on share ye beto aba na ye hwede ono so beye. So that is the only hope I save we yen enti oba na say want to me and work that particular hope no now to turn us here at the end of the day no then we go full glare. So I hope say near mabekoye and cool so there o he sub region how mo twa ho hye obi aye bi ye na ye da middle. Yes, and now her circumstances are Burkina Faso, Mali, other countries, Guinea, cool. Oh, yeah, trim da. Yeah, my room is covered by. So we Zambia through why a second country you declare bankruptcy. Yeah. Ayaka sent to Ayaka. I in China for constant talk, bilateral engagement, and their cost of 7 years, you bet you push your car anymore. Eurobond, the last time I was telling you, that we were owning about 13.5 billion. We need to engage them. I most bet me a boy, I renegotiate. Or your friend saying, Paris Club. Only the Omoka somewhere around 1.9 billion, China 1.7, commercial space, a car near the amount for Ninina, we have to realign everything. Sikani Pushiko anymore, 2026 year, a be a mature, but shall to ya. I say, why the Kwakutia Sakan, Sika Ben, the Kwakutia, what I say. So I think that we need to just arrange things, Ghana confidence, Baba, because investor, your friends say confidence in the economy, no, acquire. how do we gain it? Because I woke up on credit score now what they call a junk. All the credible rating agencies, Moody's, Fitch, S&P, and as a phone. I don't know what they call bubble singer. Now your amount junker. No financial institution will take a risk and give you money because or the man can a risk because insurance covers us can be a because insurance company will tell him the nipa no man you knew say the credit score and yet. So how then did you give that money? That is Ghana for you. Kwame Nkrumah is Ghana, beacon of hope of democracy in the sub-region and so forth. So we just hope that things will go well because near my day from international some catch us the last 8 years we will be to survival in Ghana be a certificate. Military training. Certificate of honor. Yeah, the two come about say yes. What survival Akufo-Addo because a time will come I become because yeah, a dark spot on our democracy. Akufo-Addo's era. Sometimes come on for free say time a dark spot on the conscience of our democracy. A nightmare Ghana for one person be wake up to remember because of what happened. But Akufo-Addo recently know somebody and I also saw so media and as a for a darling boy. About suddenly the stake change here because of our brabo boy. We need to me yam fan page yen hearing dadanum. Ya wo fase ne nase for ye ma ye sa to me no nye ohena konwa me na na wu ye na ode akonwa na ma menti no semhunu bi apabia de bedi. This is a democracy. Ye the man respect people the way you speak to them in nase for President Akufo-Addo at some point in time kwa yi ase ka kira him for say mon sorry na me ba unhu say me ba sorry we don't do this thing. Oh yes na you create a disconnect between you and the people and that's exactly what happened. Edru point where Ghana ni bi at be na why say monyama ya hwehwe. But Abayano is a collective idea. You need to enlist obia support to survive. So I hope, sir, Adeba President Mahama Betimia guard against in his appointees arrogance. Because one to me faso arrogance idea Ghana for person be anymore. First, no, now we need platform but then the social media platforms are available. Okwa na jona am for more live videos and for am for mu guso. I more share those programs. There was a time I woke up around 1 a.m. Now me call Facebook na Kevin Taylor ye show. Na nipa over 6,000 and online or more share the program. Clearly you say Ghana for are following the political discourse and say for them. Enti winya to me men yes say me share me office dey me bia me no. Very soon e be babon sing Ghana for be so you nya that particular open minded way approach and I think that things will get better.
Okay, you be share ora no but William yes, you be an sadia. Me no say we be abakọ there.
Yeah, nyame adom.
Professor we innocent. We din na no na mo say. Na me so we din
innocent insane innocent.
Innocent. I am very very innocent. We are super innocent.
Super innocent. Wow. Nyame ne yampo afọ. Na we cannot say.
Oh, I think so far so good. Second week when I was to see since President Mahama took over, and I think that so far some of the decisions are economic. I think that there is much to say about it. I think that he's on the right track. And so to me, also in this particular direction, I think that things will